Thanks to all present. I will be chairing via Zoom this evening. I call to order this April 22nd, 2025 hybrid administrative meeting of the Board of County Commissioners to order. Chair Olivas is excused, and I myself, Vice Chair Barboa, will be appearing and chairing via Zoom. Please, we will have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Benson. Please, Commissioner Benson, after a moment of silence, will you please lead us?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Moving on to item number 3, Madam County Manager, are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam County Manager. So we do have 2 changes this evening. The first is a deferral of item 10A, Civil Legal Services Fund, be deferred to a future meeting. And then also 10D, Budget Fiscal Year 2025 Third Quarter Budget Reconciliation, be added to adoption of resolution as item 9C for final adoption consideration. A vote is required for the above change to the agenda, and staff further requests suspension of the rules to allow for item 10D to be presented as item 9C and considered for final adoption this evening. And I stand for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne. And I want to just make sure with my colleagues and that this is the request to get 9D moved to 10D moved to 9C and not have it as a second hearing, which would mean if whatever vote we take on the budget tonight will be the final vote. Is there any discussion or questions about that?
Madam Chair, you said any vote on the budget, on that particular.
On that particular,
9C.
sorry,
Okay.
10.
Because we have another budget item. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarity. Yes, item 10D. The quarter budget reconciliation will be the final vote. And we'll suspend the rule. Okay, hearing no comment or question. I move items 10A for deferral and item 10D to 9C and request we suspend the rule. Can I get a second?
Second.
Madam Chair, before you go to a vote, there is one additional change I believe that you have on your list for item 11A.
I did not have item 11A is to remove. Is that what?
So 11A is Mr. Assessor's plan.
The
And so
assessors.
the request to move that up in the agenda to be heard immediately following consent agenda withdrawals. So it'll be immediately following item 7.
Sorry, thank you, Julianne. I believe we have a motion and a second that can include that. Madam Clerk, I would like to move on. Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes,
So called.
thank you. Thanks so much. Moving on to item 4, proclamations. We have Commissioner Benson with National Small Business Week proclamation. Commissioner Benson to present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Director Gonzalez, if you can come up, and I believe we have John Garcia with us tonight, the U.S. SBA. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson, for honoring the SBA for Small Business Week and all of our small businesses in our community that really make it our economy thrive. And without the hard work at the SBA, our partnerships, and really helping through their loans, through EIDL during the pandemic and many of the different disasters that our state faces, the SBA does a ton of work to help our small businesses keep on going. So I'll let you continue, Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, you bet. Madam Chair, members of the commission, I just want to thank you for your continued support of our small businesses, 167,000 small businesses throughout the state, majority here in Bernalillo County. As the SBA District Director, it's just an honor to present this a proclamation that we'll be presenting on May the 8th for a National Small Business Week event. We'll be recognizing 15 small businesses from across the state. Women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, things like that. Our regional administrator will be in town to help celebrate that particular day. So this is the way of Bernalillo County having to reach out and thank our small businesses, because as you all know, small business is the backbone to our economy. And so I really appreciate that, Madam Chair, members of the commission. So thank you for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. And I just wanted to say, as a small business owner myself, having taken out, I don't know, maybe half a dozen SBA loans, that I wouldn't be here without you guys. And I will say that the paperwork for SBA is a super pain in the rear end, but the end result is
We try to make that easier for you now.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's worth all the time up front, because as a business partner, as a business owner, the SBA is always a partner if you have an SBA loan, and so they're a huge resource for small businesses. So thank you so much,
and thank you for your time and what you do for small business. So appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, I've got a proclamation for you.
Excellent.
From the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners, whereas the small businesses are the engine of the American economy and the foundation of a free and prosperous nation, built by men and women who work hard, take risks, and believe in the power of the American dream. And whereas small businesses build strong connections within the community, promote economic diversity, offer unique products and services, provide jobs to residents, and continue to be a vital part of Bernalillo County's economic landscape, inspiring entrepreneurship and innovation. And whereas small businesses in Bernalillo County provide job opportunities within the community, making up 53.1% of employment in the state of New Mexico. The Albuquerque metropolitan area has approximately 73,362 small businesses, which account for nearly 98.5% of establishments in the community. And whereas in recent years, small business owners have faced unprecedented challenges, from record high inflation to reckless federal spending and burdensome regulations, yet have remained resilient in their commitment to delivering for America's communities. And whereas, despite these headwinds, the American spirit of enterprise endures, and we now stand at the threshold of a new golden era for small businesses, built on common sense, pro-growth policies that put our people, our workers, and our job creators first. And whereas, under strong leadership that prioritizes energy independence, secure borders, and fair trade, we can once again restore American dominance, self-reliance, and independence. And whereas National Small Business Week has been proclaimed by the President of the United States since 1963, honoring the vital role of small businesses in creating jobs, growing the economy, and anchoring our communities. And whereas Bernalillo County supports and joins in this national effort to recognize the contributions of small businesses to the American economy and their importance in ensuring that our local communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims May 4th through the 10th, 2025, and encourages all citizens to support small businesses and celebrate their many achievements, done this 22nd day of April, 2025 in Bernalillo County, state of New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
We have a plaque for you.
Madam Chair, I have a comment, if I may.
Yes, please.
I also wanted to thank, go ahead. Oh, my dear friend John Garcia for being here, representing SBA. And the small business community is so important, as you say, the backbone of our community. And I want to invite you in the future. Bernalillo County is going to be doing some community dialogues with small businesses, with the community to talk about economic development and growth in particularly small businesses, but in general. So I want to invite you to the table. And thank you for your service all these years for the state and the federal government. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Thank you to Mr. Garcia. And now on to a proclamation I'm bringing forward to recognize and acknowledge Zia Elementary. I learned that from one of my constituents that Zia Elementary is celebrating 75 years. I just think of how beautiful that is, and I wanted to be able to celebrate with them and offer this acknowledgement and proclamation. So I believe that Principal Erica Montaño and family/community liaison Corrine Martinez are in the room. If you are, please come forward. Thank you so much for being here. And any of the folks that you have with you, any of the students or parents that came today, yes, please welcome up. And you could come to the mic so that I'm going to read the proclamation, then you could say a few words. Sorry, I'm not in reschedule. I wanted to get this in before your celebration is coming up so you could have it. I love seeing the young people. Thank you, students. Good, our bright students. So wonderful. I'll read this proclamation and then you all can say a few words. Again, I'm so excited to be a part of this great time and celebration for an elementary school in my district. The Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners does hereby acknowledge 75th anniversary of Zia Elementary School. Acknowledging that Zia Elementary School is located at 440 Jefferson Street Northeast, has served as a cornerstone of education in our community for over 75 years, providing generations of students with foundational tools to grow, learn, and succeed. And acknowledging that on May 3rd, Zia Elementary will proudly celebrate its 75th anniversary, marking a legacy of excellence in inclusion and innovation in elementary education. And acknowledging that Zia Elementary is deeply committed to the development of a whole child, embracing an educational approach that is responsive to the diverse learning needs of its students, and recognizing that each child brings a unique learning style and perspective. Acknowledging the school ensures that all students have access to a rich variety of enrichment activities that enhance both personal and academic growth. Acknowledging that Zia Elementary is proud to partner with local organizations to provide real-world learning experiences, connecting students to their community and to hands-on opportunities that extend beyond learning in the classroom. And acknowledging that the school values this essential role of families and community members in the educational journey, working closely with the Parent-Teacher Association to create meaningful opportunities for engagement and support, and building a strong school culture through academic and social events. Acknowledging that the dedicated faculty and staff of Zia Elementary are passionate professionals who nurture the intellectual, social, and emotional growth of every child, utilizing innovative teaching skills and a comprehensive curriculum to ensure students receive a well-rounded, high-quality education. And acknowledging that Zia Elementary School stands as a proud and enduring institution, shaping young minds from kindergarten through 5th grade and upholding its reputation as a trusted and cherished part of Albuquerque community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners honors and celebrates the 75th anniversary of Zia Elementary School and extends our gratitude to its educators, students, families, and community partners for their continued commitment to excellence in education. May the legacy of Zia Elementary continue to shine for generations to come. Done on this 22nd day of April 2025 in Bernalillo County, State of New Mexico. Thank you so much, and thank you for letting us be a part of this recognition. And we'd love to hear a few words from you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was beautiful. Just being part of the Zia community for the last 4 years, it's an amazing place to be, an amazing place to call my own children's school. And from our visually impaired program to our bilingual program to our general ed programs, it's just, they do have the best interest of all the students and the whole child. That is true.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Do you want to talk?
Love to hear from the students. This is your microphone.
I'll just say a quick word. I'm on the PTA of Zia, and Erica and the teachers are so phenomenal. I think we've been really lucky. I feel like we stumbled upon it because it was our neighborhood school, but not only Zia, but the entire community around there. When we have activities or events like the 75th celebration, all those people support it, right? So the engagement, I think, is what's really made the difference for us. And I know Jackie, even though he's a little shy, I think he'd agree. As a kindergartner in Mr. Hio's class, he's had a really great time. So, yeah, thank you for acknowledging it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you want to come and get the plaque and the commissioners take a photo, if you can, that'd be excellent. Bring all the kids up. We want them all up to give us good energy on that diocese. Yes. We hope you youngsters will consider running for any of these elected positions. We need you to start thinking about it now. Thank you to the teachers, staff, and the principal, everyone who makes a good school run well. Thank you so much.
Madam Chair, this is
Yes.
Clerk Kavanaugh. May I have a point of
Yes,
personal
Clerk Kavanaugh,
privilege
please.
before you guys run away? Before you run away. I just wanted to make a comment for you all. My son is 10 years old, and he used to go to Zia, and the only reason that he doesn't now is because we moved. But he started kindergarten during the pandemic. And anybody who had anything to do with kids during the pandemic knows what an incredible challenge that was for everybody involved. And he had the most incredible kindergarten teacher. Her name was Miss B, and she could not have been a better person to guide my son into the school environment, especially during such a rough time. And Miss Erica, as the principal, always made us feel so welcome and so part of the Zia community. And I think that anybody who ever interacts with anybody from the school will recognize that. So as my own point of personal privilege, being able to say something from up here on the dais, I just wanted to sincerely thank you all and tell you how much I and my son will always appreciate everything that Zia did for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Kavanaugh. Here's cheers to another 75 years of excellent education at Zia Elementary. Thank you all. Great, now we will move on. Thank you for all who came out. We will move on to public comment before we hear communications. Each person will have 2 minutes and you'll be alerted about your remaining time. When your name is called, please make your way to the podium if you're speaking in person. Before making your statements, please state your name for the record, to maintain order and decorum and in the spirit of professionalism and respect for everyone present, speakers must adhere to the 2-minute limit. If the conduct of the presenter violates the rules, they may be subject to removal. Shayanti, please let's start with any online public comment participants.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair. Senator Debbie O'Malley.
Hello, Senator.
Pushing all the rules, apparently. Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I come before you today to state my support for Resolution 10B, sponsored by Commissioner Frank Baca. It's my understanding this item is to approve the introduction of a resolution that could, if approved, come before the County Commission in 2 weeks in a new resolution for approval to appropriate $250,000 for 3 years to the city of Albuquerque to operate the Route 66 Visitor Center. To be clear, it's my understanding this resolution is not an appropriation. So I hope somebody will let me know if I'm misinterpreting this particular item. The Route 66 Visitor Center is an asset to our county. It's a beautiful building that belongs to the public that needs and should have a commitment from both the city and county for operations. I must admit I was skeptical and critical of the plans of the center when I was on the county commission, so I requested a market study, which many of you have probably read. The study acknowledges that this public event space will need public support and operations for several years if it has a chance to becoming successful. I ask that this commission approve the introduction of this resolution so that this commission could decide whether to approve this funding request in 2 weeks. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commission.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for coming, and we miss you here at the county.
Thank you.
Carolee Morris. We are moving to in-person. Once I announce your name, please make your way towards the podium. Don Schroeder, followed by Kay Bonkiwa, followed by Janet Antillon.
Don Schrader. Millions of soldiers in the United States, Russia, Israel, and other nations sadly believe God wants them to murder other human beings when their government tells them to. The U.S. military hires chaplains to assure soldiers God approves murder in war. I do not pledge allegiance to the U.S. flag or to any nation's flag. All people are my sisters and brothers. I have paid no federal income tax for 46 years, not one bloody penny. Almost half of federal income tax pays for U.S. wars, past, present, future. I damn all wars, so for me to pay federal income tax to turn young men and women into professional hired killers to murder on command with no conscience would be more evil than being a soldier myself. The United States has murdered many millions of moms, dads, kids in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Iraq, Afghanistan, El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Gaza, and many more nations. Prophet Martin Luther King Jr. damned the U.S. war in Vietnam. King said, "The greatest purveyor of violence in the world today is my own government." Sadly, still true now, 58 years later. Not with my silence, not with my money. War is the worst of all crimes.
Kay Bonkiwa, followed by Janet Antillon, followed by Cody Way-Benes. Once I announce, please make your path towards the podium.
Hello? Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, and the general public. Happy Earth Day. My name is Kay Bun Ke, and I have the privilege of speaking tonight in support of the Samia project. As I was walking my daughter to kindergarten this morning, I was thinking about what it means to be a good steward to this land and what it means to model that for my child. Over the past several years, my daughter's school has lost its Master's Gardeners program, and with renovations they're doing to the campus, they'll be temporarily losing their field in one of their playgrounds. So often, if we aren't intentional about building our children's relationships to the earth and the outdoor spaces that we love and care for, we risk losing our connection to land, our understanding of our relations to the trees, our food, medicinal plants and waters, and the animals and insects surrounding us. It feels especially important that Samia Project is here today to ask for support from the Commission to stand up the Next Gen program, which prepares young leaders for a career in natural resources with a ladder into entry-level positions within Bernalillo County. Over the past few months, we've worked with Chair Olivas and managers within the county and the state's Department of Workforce Solutions to work towards standing up the first certified natural resources apprenticeship program for the state of New Mexico. We can't do this work without an investment from Bernalillo County. As we navigate a tumultuous federal government, we're needing local leadership to stand up and build and invest in infrastructure that will directly support our families. I'm here tonight to ask the county commissioners to support a $250,000 investment during this budget cycle to help us cross the finish line in standing up a pre-apprenticeship to career pipeline within the South County and in partnership with the Samia Project. This investment is an investment in our youth, our economic development, and our water, land, and air. Thank you so much.
Janet Antillon, followed by Cody Webinez, followed by Emmett Ipa.
Hello, County Commissioners. My name is Janet Antillon, and I'm here today on behalf of the Semilla Project. I speak to you not only as a community organizer who has worked with young adults for the past decade, but also as a mother of 2 young daughters who dreams of a brighter future for our next generation. I am here to ask you to support and invest in that future, specifically the future of the youth and the young families in our communities. Growing up, many of us believed our only options were limited to fast food jobs, cashier roles, housekeeping, staying home to care for others, or other demanding jobs. While these paths are valuable, they shouldn't be the only ones we see as possible. Having programs like Next Gen, which exposes our youth to careers in natural resources and prepares them to take on roles in urban forestry, herbalism, land management, and other education, will allow our youth to see a future of new opportunities in Bernalillo County. These are not just jobs, they're futures in our youth that our youth can envision and build towards. And for young parents who often feel left behind, these programs say there is still a path forward. You belong in these spaces too. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider the support of workforce development programs in our county.
Cody Webinez, followed by Emmett Ipa, followed by Victoria Alarcon Macias.
Hello, County Commissioners. My name is Cody Webinez. I'm here on behalf of the Samia Project. I'm here to ask you to consider supporting and investing in my community's future. Growing up, we all saw as possible careers were entry-level retail, fast food, and restaurant careers. Having programs like Next Gen will expose our youth to careers in natural resources and prepare them to take on roles in urban forestry, herbalism, land management, and outdoor education. Will allow our youth to see a future of new opportunities in Bernalillo County. Investing will help reduce job insecurity and provide quality training and local career pathways in large growing sectors in New Mexico. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider the support of our workforce development and programs in our county. Thank you.
Emmett Ipa, followed by Victoria Alarcon Macias, followed by Dawa Shushalchi.
Greetings, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, and community. My name is Emmett Ipa on behalf of the Samia Project, and as a proud tribal community member, I am here to ask you to consider supporting and investing in my community's future. Growing up, the only career paths I was aware of were becoming a police officer, doctor, lawyer. While these are certainly valuable professions, they aren't suited for everyone's individual journey, including mine. With a program such as NextGen, our youth can explore careers in natural resources and prepare them for roles and help them envision a future filled with opportunities right here in Bernalillo County. More importantly, NextGen provides hands-on training in climate-resilient fields, fostering leadership skills and connecting young people with industry professionals. This helps them pave the way toward well-paying jobs and careers they find meaningful. Furthermore, NextGen will offer a supportive community that values youth and their futures. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen and consider the support of workforce development programs in our county. Thank you.
Victoria Alarcon Macias, Dawa Shushalchi, Barnice Estrada.
Good afternoon, chairs and commissioners. My name is Victoria Larcon Macias. On behalf of the Semilla Project, I've seen firsthand the transformation that happens when young people like me are given the space, training, and support to lead. Through our NextGen pre-apprenticeship program, our apprentices will not just learn technical skills, they're connecting to their communities, their culture, and Mother Earth, but will also grow to be leaders and stewards of our communities and public lands that make up our beautiful home of New Mexico. We're asking Bernalillo County to help us achieve such transforming measures for the leaders of our future. This will be an investment to our communities, land, water, and many more. You have the power to move this forward and help the community build transformative change for our youth. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Dawa Shushalchi, followed by Barnice Estrada, followed by Carolina Carillo.
Hello, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. My name is Dawa Shushalchi, Zuni Pueblo and Dene. On behalf of the Semilla Project and as a proud Indigenous individual, I'm here to ask and consider supporting and investing in the community's future, the benefits and the need to empower the younger generation, who would be the leaders in many more generations to come, is a role we must consider. As a youth, I experienced my parents working day jobs that held back endless possibilities of endearment to their skills and abilities. Having programs like NextGen, which expose our youth to careers in natural resources, prepares them to take on roles in urban forestry, herbalism, land management, and outdoor education. NextGen will allow our youth to see a future of new opportunities in Bernalillo County. As a community, we must recognize, empower our youth to take action in such a critical role. Today will be the oldest we'll be. Today will be the youngest we'll be. Let's make a difference for our future generation. Thank you so much for taking the time, listening, and consider the support of workforce development programs in our county. Thank you.
Berenice Estrada, followed by Carolina Carillo, followed by Kylie Schroeder.
Good evening, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. My name is Berenice Estrada, and I am here on behalf of the Semilla Project, as well as a lifelong advocate for youth, climate justice, and racial justice in New Mexico. I am here to ask you to support and invest in the future of our communities by supporting an investment of $250,000 to help us stand up NextGen, a pre-apprenticeship to apprenticeship program in natural resources with Bernalillo County. Growing up, the careers that felt most accessible were in the service industry, low-wage labor, or whatever came with survival. But our youth deserve more than survival. They deserve direction, purpose, and opportunities to thrive in careers that uplift both our people and our planet. This is a power opportunity for Bernalillo County to directly invest in young people, especially youth of color, immigrant youth, and others who have long been excluded from traditional workforce and environmental pathways. Programs like NextGen expose youth to careers in the natural resources and prepares them for roles in urban industry, herbalism, land management, and outdoor education, opening doors to a future of new, meaningful opportunities right here in Bernalillo County. This program doesn't just benefit our youth; it strengthens the county natural resources, economy, and public health. Our apprentices become stewards of the land and leaders in their communities, helping build a more sustainable and equitable New Mexico. I ask you today to see this not just as a funding request, but as an investment in the resilience of our youth and in the long-term health of our land and people. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Carolina Carrillo, followed by Kylie Charter, followed by Vicky Price.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name is Carolina Carrillo on behalf of the Semilla Project and also mom of 5 New Mexican children. I'm here to ask you to consider supporting and investing in my community's future. I had a kid that at the age of 18, he felt like he needed to leave to the state to find the career pathways that he was looking for. It breaks my heart knowing that he live in a place where my children might have to leave to find the job they are looking for. Having programs like NextGen, which expose our youth to careers in natural resources and prepares them to take on roles in a urban forestry, herbalism, land management, and outdoor education, we allow the youth to see the future of the opportunities in Bernalillo County. This will allow me to bring back my child that had to leave and hopefully for him to find his career close to home. Thank you so much for your time, listen, and considering support workforce development programs in our country. Thank you.
Kylie Charter, followed by Vicky Price, followed by Michelle Medved.
Hi, I'm Kylie. I am here tonight in support of the APS Crossroads and the Behavioral Health Therapist Program at APS. Later in the evening, you'll be voting on the opioid settlement proposal. And I am here to ask that you do a second vote yes. I can't tell you how excited I am at the thought of this going through and the opportunity for us to expand prevention into middle school and elementary schools. Seeing the kids here from Zia Elementary just tugs at my heart, and that's exactly where we need to start with substance prevention. And if the vote goes through tonight, the funding will be there to expand our program, and that is so exciting to me. I was so disappointed last time that there was a second vote, but I'm back. And that's it. I'm just so excited. So I want to say thank you for the opportunity to even be considered, that we were included in this proposal, because I really feel like we can do this. And I believe in our program. And I have this hope and this personal goal that in a few years from now, when we're looking at our data, that we will see the age of first use in our area change from 11. I want to see that go up as far as we can get it. And with your vote tonight, that'll be one step closer in us being able to do our work. And I just want to say thank you. And I also want to put a plug in for an event we have coming up in May that we have partnered with Keep New Mexico Alive in Bernco, called Spree, which is for the entire community, where we have workshops and it's for the entire family in the community. And we want to officially invite everyone. It's Friday, May 9th. Thank you.
Vicky Price, followed by Michelle Medved, followed by Eli Kuna.
Good evening. Thank you, esteemed commissioners. My name is Vicky Price. I'm the Senior Director of Counseling Services for Albuquerque Public Schools. I'm here along with Kylie to just reinforce how important we feel our Crossroad expansion is, our behavioral health expansion, and getting into middle schools in using a prevention model. Our proposal solidly provides much-needed drug and alcohol use and misuse prevention in middle schools across the city. We are committed to helping students through prevention, education, and guide them to make decisions and choices that lead to a healthy lifestyle. Prevention and education are keys for reducing long-term drug usage in our youth. It is critical that the schools and the community work together to strengthen our prevention efforts and intervene as early as possible. APS is ready. We have the infrastructure and the program elements in place. We are ready to start as students' funding is in place and staffing needs are met. I know you have already discussed the APS proposal several times, and we truly appreciate the support and the attention you have given to this topic. I hope this is the start to a tremendous partnership that is going to help our community, our schools, and mostly our students. Thank you for your time, and I hope that we'll get a yes vote tonight. Thank you.
Michelle Medved, followed by Eli Kuna, followed by Kylie Tomlin.
My name is Michelle Medved, and I'm one of two of the current middle school crossroads in Albuquerque Public Schools. First of all, thank you for your support. Our children need the prevention in order to avoid all the interventions later. I have been involved in the Crossroads program since 2017 at the high school level. When we work with our high school students who are involved with substances, many have been using for several years. With the introduction of very potent marijuana, especially in vaping form, starting around the years of 2020 to 2023, we are seeing students who are addicted at higher levels more than ever before. And the potency continues to rise, which continues to affect our children. We have to teach prevention, intervene with students and families, and hire more middle school crossroads counselors for our program. Again, I am one of only 2 middle school crossroads right now, counselors, which means I have 15 middle schools by myself. I can't even get into elementary schools right now due to my caseload at the middle schools. I have elementary administrators calling us asking for help with their 4th and 5th graders. And remember, the average age of first use in New Mexico is 11. That's the average. Many of them are starting at age 9. Your vote tonight for the opioid money for our program in APS will make a huge difference in so many lives. We could get into the elementary schools, the middle schools, and instead of 15, I might be able to have 2 middle schools and feed directly into those elementary schools and actually have an office and be able to just get to know those kids and have a continuity of 3rd or kindergarten up to the 8th graders. We need your support again. I am so excited to think about the opportunities this money can create. Thank you.
Eli Kuna, followed by Kaylee Tomlin, followed by Cindy Bolanos Sakuman.
Buenas tardes, Madam Chair y dear commissioners. I'm here on behalf of the Semilla Project. I'm a mother of 2. I'm a first advocate of really giving the opportunity to our communities to tap to the genius that we have, all of us, and create the solutions that we deserve. And today I'm here asking you to join us in this opportunity, to invest with $250,000 in this pilot program. It's a 10 weeks program that we're gonna provide intensive and intentional skills and practice to more than 20 young people in Bernalillo County with certifications from CPR to wilderness aid, and also hours in practice in wildfire litigation, wildfire mitigation, watershed management, and forestry. Why is this important? It's important to really talk our walk, to protect our land, our community. And the most important people that can do that is the directly impacted communities of all those catastrophes and displacements that we are facing. At the moment that we are facing big federal cuts, we still believe that we need to invest in our communities for them to be able to have clear pathways of economic development. And I'm so excited that we have been working really closely with Bernalillo County and also the Department of Workforce Solutions to ensure that when these kids, these young adults, finalize these 10 weeks, they can place and start their career here in Bernalillo County. It's a win-win opportunity. And I'm super excited that you consider this administration resolution for your next meeting. Thank you so much.
Kelly Tomlin, followed by Cindy Bolanos Sakoman.
Hello, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Kelly Tomlin. I am one of 5 behavioral health therapists at Albuquerque Public Schools. I work at Manzano High School. I also live in the East Mountains, woohoo, District 5. I spoke at a prior meeting about the impact of the opioid settlement money on our behavioral health therapists and crossroads programs in the schools. So as you can tell, I'm one of 5 behavioral health therapists in the schools and serving almost 70,000 students. That doesn't hit very many students. So it's awesome if this opioid settlement money gets approved for APS, and you guys vote yes again tonight, because that can definitely increase our program in addition to the crossroads programs. And I just wanted to come back here and express my gratitude for you all and all of your due diligence and hard work that you put into making sure that this money is spent responsibly and put into the right hands for the most significant impact on our community. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from each of your questions and debates and decision-making processes, and I'm not sure how often you get thanked for the hard work that you guys do and these insanely long meetings. But I'm so grateful for all that you are doing for the greater good of our city and our county. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tom.
Cindy Bolanos Sakoman. Madam Vice Chair, that concludes our public comment.
Thank you, Shanti. Very much appreciated. Thank you to all who came out to engage in our public comment. We will next be hearing item 5A. I did want to say to our public comment, several of you are here and I heard the request loud and clear for a resolution. I will be following up with that. I think internships are some of the most important. I know internships saved my life and helped me get access to kind of things I wouldn't have had before. So thank you for thinking of our communities and providing what everybody says they need, a meaningful job. So. Okay, we'll move on to item 5A, Finance, University of New Mexico Hospital. We have UNM CEO Kate Becker to present the third quarter fiscal year 2025 presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair Barboa and Commissioners. There we are. You do have my report in your packet, and I'm, of course, always happy to stand for any questions. I do just want to mention a couple of specific things. The first one is our big focus through this summer and into the early fall is going to be opening the critical care tower. So if you've been down Lomas, you've seen that it looks just about finished from the outside. We're at the point right now of moving the major medical equipment into the building, things like the MRIs, the CT scanners, the OR tables. That work is about 70% finished. We do expect to have our certificate of occupancy this summer, so it should be coming end of June, beginning of July. Then we will spend about 90 days practicing all the things you want to practice in a new building if you're a hospital. Fire drills, rapid responses, airway training, just making sure we know where everything is and we can get there quickly when it's time to do it. Then we will be moving all the patients in. Day 1 will be October 5th. So one way to think of it is the balloons fly and people move in the building. Those 2 things will happen on the same day. So we're very excited about that and we'll be working towards that. The other thing I did want to mention is the Behavioral Health Crisis Center, which continues to provide more and more access for folks in Bernalillo County. And we continue to see an increase in the number of visits there. And now we're starting to see more of those peer support visits as well, which is great because now we're seeing more folks who are coming in a little earlier. They're not yet in crisis, but they feel that need for additional support. And so it's really fulfilling its mission of providing that full range of services for folks who need that kind of help. And then the last thing I would mention is you may have heard a little bit about potential disruption in funding at the federal level from all kinds of sources. I just want to say for a minute what that means for us at UNM Hospital and kind of how we're thinking about it. So obviously no one knows yet exactly what those cuts will be. There's been a discussion of things like $880 billion over 10 years, budget reconciliation at the federal level, but we don't really know yet what that looks like. You can think of it as kind of maybe 3 buckets of things that could happen. The first bucket is a change to who is covered by Medicaid. So when you think about that, it could be things like either reducing the number of people who are covered in expansion, changing eligibility requirements, adding requirements like work eligibility. So addressing that piece. We would expect, if that happens, to see an increase in uncompensated care. And we would also hope to see an increase in folks who are otherwise finding insurance coverage. So we would be working with the state on figuring out what is available on the state insurance exchange and what subsidies the state can provide to help people with those who've been off of Medicaid. The second big bucket is changes to how the federal government pays for Medicaid. The federal government pays the majority of Medicaid now. For our state, they pay about 72 to 73% of what's called base Medicaid, the original Medicaid population, and about 90% of the expansion population. So if the government was to say, we're taking down that amount we are paying, the percentage the federal government is paying, then the state would have to decide if it wanted to pay the share that is remaining. For UNM Hospital alone, a change in that federal share from the expansion number to the base number for that full population would be about $40 million a year. So kind of beginning to think about that. And then the third bucket is things called supplemental or directed payments. So those are additional payments that people access either through intergovernmental transfers like us, because we're a public entity, or provider taxes like the other hospitals throughout New Mexico. So if there's a change to the way that structure is set up, those payments aren't specific to a particular Medicaid service. You can think of them more as supporting initiatives the state thinks are important. So most of our directed payment is actually focused on behavioral health. So we would see a gap in the available funding to support behavioral health initiatives. So just kind of giving you sort of the outline of what sort of things could happen on the horizon. We'll be obviously doing a lot of advocacy work with America's Essential Hospitals and other entities in Washington to kind of try to figure out what that looks like. And we'll continue to keep you posted over the summer. And as you know, the governor has suggested she may call a special session in the fall, depending on how that shakes out, to see what the state response to that will be. So with that, happy to stand for any questions. It's not as fun as Zia Elementary, I know.
We know, but thank you for always bringing the information and keeping us updated. Any questions, discussion for CEO Kate Becker? Yes, Commissioner Baca.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if you could see me or not.
Yeah, I asked Julie to make it happen and it's been, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Just a couple of comments, or one comment and one question, Ms. Becker. One is that I believe I saw in the news this week a report of a new UNM health clinic on the southwest part of Bernalillo County. Is that correct? Did I
Yes, Commissioner Baca. We actually are progressing forward on approvals for the new clinic at 90th and Gibson. We're calling it the Sandia Vista Clinic. And the way we decided on the location of that clinic was by doing a survey of citizens of the county to see who is currently having the most difficulty accessing primary care in terms of distance driven or availability, or usually seeking urgent care instead of primary care because they don't have primary care access. So our final approval for that will be the State Board of Finance. We've almost cleared the last hurdle, and then we'll be building that project.
Thank you for that. And if I understand it correctly, that it's a $19 million project, and that money is coming from a particular fund. So you're not asking anybody for any money. You have that money in hand. Is that correct?
Yes, Commissioner Baca, that comes from the UNM Hospital capital funding.
Thank you. Another question, just a concern, just in general, that everybody I think is having and discussing in the community is what are the types of staffing shortages that you're experiencing at the hospital in the different categories? I know there are some initiatives, I believe, in this last session to incentivize certain professions. I wonder if you just could speak to that a bit.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Baca. It is fair to say there is a shortage of every kind of healthcare professional in our state. Everybody thinks about doctors, that there's a shortage of physicians, and of course UNM has a school of medicine and is committed to expanding that school to doubling the size of that school. There's also a shortage of nurses. About 6,000 nurses in our state is the size of the shortage. So the College of Nursing has expanded its programming as well. But we also have a shortage of the people other people don't necessarily think about, Radiology technicians, for example, right now are acutely short. Respiratory therapists are acutely short. All of those providers that you may not immediately think of, but they're really focused on very specialized areas. And so we partner with CNM and with other entities to try to increase that pipeline. And with the high school for health professions, honestly, we're at the high school level at this point in terms of trying to encourage folks to pursue those health careers and professions.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to always hear that, we are you are partnering with, with those who can train and encourage those individuals, young individuals to get into these professions. But, and am I correct, were there not some incentive programs specifically for nurses or people interested in the nursing field or other? And if not, is there some effort to pursue legislatively incentives? I mean, people have come up with all sorts of different ideas that I thought are interesting in terms of, I know that I believe the first 4 years of college are not at a cost, but perhaps the follow-up master's degree, there is a cost. I'm not sure about that, but I've heard people talk about housing and just a variety of creative ways to incentivize, encourage folks to begin. And I hear the folks from SEMIA probably thinking about it the same for their careers that they're talking about as well. So I'm just generally your thoughts about what if we're doing and if we're doing enough to really incentivize people to pursue those important careers.
Thank you, Commissioner Baca. And there were actually quite a few initiatives that included things like tax credits on your tax return for pursuing those professions, expanding the size of the loan repayment program to help assist health professionals with loan repayments for exactly what you're talking about. And I would say, I shouldn't speak on behalf of the students who are pursuing that, but all of those efforts are definitely welcomed and appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation. Answer my questions.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, CEO Becker. I usually have questions for you. I don't today. I'll follow up if I come up with anything, but really appreciate you always being here, keeping us informed and providing these quarterly updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So now we move to, make sure I have the things right, to our approval of the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for items 6C and 6F and ordinance number for items 6G and 6H.
Yes, Madam Chair. Item 6C is AR 2025-37. Item 6F is FR 2025-38. 6G is Ordinance 2025-16. And 6H is Ordinance 2025-17.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The consent agenda has been published and made available to the public. Therefore, I move the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Chair Barboa.
Yes.
So called.
Thank you. And I want to take the moment to say a couple of statements here, both that I believe that Cindy Sockerman was texting. She had a hard time. She couldn't get in on the Zoom, but I met with her recently. She was one of the people that was hired by Vital Strategies to run a really robust community outreach and research and analysis of the input received by community and stakeholders and providers and courts and corrections. She did a really good job. And she had mentioned to me that we hadn't explicitly said how we are going to be doing community, bringing this information back to the community, not necessarily expecting community members to come to our meetings for public comment, but how are we going to do the same kind of robust updates to community about the opioid settlements. So we just want to say out loud, even though it was not, in our appropriation budget, but the effective use of the opioid settlement funds absolutely depends on robust community engagement and feedback, ensuring investments align with the community's needs and priorities. the Vital Strategies Opioid Settlement Fund strategic plan for the city of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County was developed with widespread and effective community engagement. The Bernalillo County Commission and Local Government Coordinating Commission remain committed to ensuring such ongoing engagement while also utilizing the diverse stakeholder representation on the Behavioral Health Advisory Board. So I just want folks, there's been so much engagement and involvement to ensure you that we are making sure that we have that same kind of engagement ongoing as we'll be receiving these. There will be a public dashboard, but we'll also very much make sure we go out to community, including our tribal neighbors and urban tribes, urban natives, to make sure we're doing right by these dollars. So thank you. That was on the consent agenda. And last, I wanted to say that also on the consent agenda was the development of our new Economic Development Board. It's a temporary board meant to support some ideas and planning. And those are all, thank you to all the folks who stepped into that position and submitted resumes. I look forward to seeing what that group can do.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also wanted to make a statement about the opioid settlement agreement that we just are talking about on the consent agenda, and all of APS that is here and was here 2 weeks ago. I thank you, but I also wanted to just really thank our colleagues on the City Council, Councilor Feeblecorn, Councilor Grout, Councilor Champagne, and Councilor Rogers. They were our peers on the other side of this conversation with the County Commission on LGCC with APS, where we came up with this plan. There was much discussion at the council, and we had it in our last meeting, but this is really a partnership of use of these funds in a strategic manner, reaching out to the community, as you said, and getting this community, or getting these funds out to the community in a proper fashion. 40% of this money through this resolution will go to prevention, 60% for intervention and treatment. It was a real group effort by our community. Thank you, Dr. Lindstrom. But I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned that about our colleagues. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those very important words. Great. We will move on from the consent agenda 6 to item 7A, County Assessor 2025 Property Valuation Maintenance Program Plan and Annual Budget. Assessor Damian Lara to present, please.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having me. Before you, you have a comprehensive evaluation of the work the Office of the County Assessor and the staff have done over the last year, and a strategic plan and budget for your approval of the work that needs to be done for the 2025 tax year. I will reserve most of the time for questions if necessary. I do want to hit on 3 highlights of the work that's been done and that we are proposing to continue to work on in the 2025 tax year. We've initiated a Know Your Value campaign for community outreach and civic engagement, specifically for property owners to take advantage of tax savings programs, most notably our 2 constitutional exemptions that expanded veterans exemptions, as well as ensuring that we have the county-approved income tax return for low-income property owners and our valuation freeze for low-income property owners who are 65 years of age or older or disabled. Additionally, we've done a lot of great work through our initiatives in the substandard and working with various taxing entities, as well as our cost to cure to incentivize property owners to invest into their properties. And we have seen many achievements and successes. Nexus on Central, the Gizmo, and many other properties are just a few of the examples that we've seen as a result of the efforts the Office of the County Assessor has made in the substandard initiative paired with our cost to cure. Finally, as we are all concerned with the shortage of housing in the last year, from 2024 to 2025, we've seen 14 new multifamily apartments come up, accounting for about 2,500 units. We've seen about 675 single-family dwellings being constructed. And through the efforts of the short-term rental initiative, we've seen about 2,225 short-term rentals go to decrease for about 1,700, which is almost 1,000 short-term rentals that have now become available for long-term rental in this year moving forward. That's over 4,000 housing units that will be available or are available as of January 1st, 2025, as compared to that in 2024. We have accomplished much at this midpoint, but we do know and I recognize that we have much more to achieve. Therefore, we ask for your support in approving our plan and the resulting budget request for the 2026 tax fiscal year. With that, I'm happy to stand with questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you always for your concise and thorough presentations. Any comments, questions for Assessor Lara? Yes, Commissioner
Madam
Baca.
Chair. Yeah, thank you. So, Assessor, thank you so much for that presentation and the nice pamphlet you put together. The book, very, very nicely done for you and your staff. And thank you for that data that you just provided, because I've been struggling a lot over the last few months and even before about housing, the housing needs, and I wasn't really sure where to get this data that you just provided. So I think we'll be talking to you some more about that, because we really want to understand what is the need and what is being done, essentially by private sector, or to what extent those are government-sponsored projects as well. But 4,000 new units in a year is pretty substantial. My question is in regards to the, and I believe the county has relaxed the rules on this as well. I know the city has, in regards to the building of casitas. Is that part of this equation at all? Would that be a whole separate category?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Baca, that is actually a whole separate category. The additional living units are not counting as single-family dwellings or additional units. Those are basically what we refer to as contributory value. It's added to the assessments, but it's capped at the 3%. So we wouldn't see that as counted for additional living units unless somehow they were addressed by the utilities as different. But typically that is not counted as an additional living unit.
Okay. All right, thank you. And just for my own edification, you mentioned the veterans, and I was just, I think I recall something. Did the veteran exemption bill that passed the year before last, did it get pushed back? Did it get to some extent withdrawn in terms of the scope of the exemption for veterans?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Baca, so the constitutional amendments that were passed in November of 2024 required implementing legislation from the state legislature. And so this last session, the legislature passed House Bill 47, which implemented the increase from 4,000 to 10,000 for tax year 2025. So veterans who are eligible or who had the exemption applied last year for 4,000 will see that increased automatically to 10,000, and any new veteran will see that applied this year. The percentage of disability was deferred for a year, so that won't be implemented until the 2026 tax year.
Okay, that was what was the change, and was that percentage, is that just for 1 year? For 1 year?
No, so all of these exemptions continue and are applied automatically unless we are notified or we find out that the individual is no longer eligible or the property is no longer eligible. So once applied, it continues for the life of the veteran or the surviving spouse of the veteran. If they miss the deadline, they can always apply the following year and continue to receive that exemption, again, for the life of the veteran or the surviving spouse of the veteran.
Thank you. I just think, again, that's important information that needs to be out in the public domain. I know you have a whole community engagement department, if you will. So thank you for all you do. I appreciate you.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Baca, thank you so much for that. We do have a very hardworking staff. They've been asked to do a lot more work than was previously asked, and implementing these things is not an easy task. We did reach out to over 26,000 veterans to let them know, and we're continuing to do that work. So that praise, I know, goes a long way with our staff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions from Commission? Thank you very much. Madam, so I move that we approve the 2025 Property Valuation Maintenance Program Plan and Annual Budget. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Barbara Baca. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you very much.
Thank you, Assessor Nara. Move on to item 9, adoption of resolution. Madam Clerk, please provide resolution numbers for items 9A, B, and C.
Yes, for item 9A, AR 2025-39. 9B is AR 2025-40. And 9C is FR 2025-41.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're on to 9A, economic development, notice of intent for project revenue bond, Encino Senior Gardens, volume cap balance. Executive Development Officer Marcos Gonzalez to present. Well, this is mine. Go ahead.
1 second, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I can also start with, this first item is in my district. We're asking for, project revenue bonds, multifamily housing revenue bonds, and principal amount not to exceed $4,800,000 in connection with proposed project located within Bernalillo County for the purpose of financing and renovating the 165 senior affordable apartment homes that, to be known as Encino Senior Gardens. Through the development of the project site and operation of the project in the manner set forward in the project plan. So Executive Development Officer Gonzalez, let us know what the
Apologize,
project.
Commissioners, I'm just, the file.
Well, that's okay. Don't feel rushed.
I think these are the ones.
Where's this one?
There are 3, right?
Oh, here, I found it.
We got it.
Okay. Okay, now we're good to go. Okay, so this is for a project revenue bond. This is again a tool that's used for affordable housing when projects are issuing 4% are accessing low-income housing tax credits for 4%, low-income housing tax credits through New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority or Housing New Mexico. They have to also issue bonds, which is these project revenue bonds, in order to access the equity that comes along with it, having low-income housing tax credits. In terms of the project, this is a 165-unit refurbish of senior housing that's 100% Section 8 that has project-based vouchers. So every single one has a voucher attached to it. So the commission had already approved this project revenue bond back in December of 23, and the project had only issued out 19.2 million of the 24 million that it had been authorized due to cost overruns, due to not knowing what happens when you tear down the wall, and we've all had that experience in our own houses. There's been additional overruns and increasing price of construction that has led them to actually have to access the additional 4.8 million in funding in order to complete the project. So that's what we're doing today. The reason we're having to come back to the commission is that the ordinance has expired, allowing them to access that additional 4.8 million. So the commission has to reapprove this resolution and ordinance that we'll bring back in 30 days. And once again, this is for exemption of the real property taxes, and they'll continue to pay their annual fee as they've done before, and we'll just be using the full amount of their 24 million in project revenue bonds that were approved back in December. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Executive Officer Gonzalez. Are there any discussion or questions? Great. No, thank you again, Director Gonzalez, for this good work and making sure that we have spaces that our seniors can live with dignity. So thank you very much for this. I move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, passing, and we'll stay here. Executive Development Officer Gonzalez, we have you next on IRB, Industrial Revenue Bond Notice of Intent for the Highway Hotel. It also is in my district, and I just want to say it's a one of those places that has been along Central Route 66 for a very long time, as long as I can remember living in the district my whole life. They have now taken down the whole, it was an old structure, it's been leveled, and it's ready and prime for, so exciting to see the redevelopment of a 112-room hotel. And the bonds will provide certain tax exemptions. Can Officer Marcos Gonzalez please present?
Thank you, Commissioner Barboa. So once again, this is for the Highway House IRB that will be happening in the Nob Hill area. For just a quick overview, industrial revenue bonds are economic development tools that we have to be able to provide tax exemption for ongoing projects, and from the tax savings, they're able to inject that back into the project and allow the job creation and the private investment to happen in the area. And before the IRB project specifically, they wouldn't be able to make the project cash flow and actually happen. So we're talking about the Highway Hotel today, which, as Commissioner Arboa explained, is what used to be an old Route 66 motel. If everybody remembers, there was also a Korean barbecue restaurant in front that was next to Kelly's Brewery, which is now Matucci's 25. And fun fact, the county owns the facade to Matucci's 25, just to let you all know. Anyways, this will be a different class of hotels that's in the area, Tribute, a Marriott hotel. That will be able to serve what's becoming a growing area for small business and entrepreneurs in the Knoxville area, especially with Q Station there, which is the Air Force Research Laboratories space to work with the entrepreneurial community and the space community and deep tech community, all the activities that are happening out of there. They have had public engagement with the not only the Nob Hill Main Street, the Nob Hill Merchants Association, the Neighborhood Association, and also with other hotels that are in the area as well, and all have been receptive and positive to seeing something positive happening within that area, that one older hotel that's attracted some negative attention. So it would be great to have additional capacity in the area and bring more bodies to the Nob Hill area, which will incur increased spending and other activities within the area for those other small businesses and restaurants that are within the area. The county does have IRB monitoring that'll be ongoing during the life of the project, which is for 25 years, and we will be exempting the gross receipt taxes and personal property taxes of this project, and then on the real property, only 49%. So that means that we're collecting the mills that are attributed to APS and C&M, and then 75% of our own mills will be used as well in our PILT funds, which, as we later on discussed in the budget, are being used for housing and other items as well. So we're continuing to replenish that PILT bucket to do other positive impacts in our community. So for the job creation, we'll have about 168 construction jobs. They'll be at market rate. Apologize for there with prevailing wages. They'll be at the market rate, so at or above prevailing wages for most of the construction trade. And then on the permanent, we'll have 14 full-time jobs and 63 part-time jobs with varying salaries. And so the next steps will be to bring this back for final adoption at the May 27th meeting. And from there forward, the department will continue to monitor the IRB, that the job creation and other items happen, and begin paying their payment in lieu of taxes as well. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Madam Chair, I just have a quick question. Is this a rebuild or is it a remodel, or what is the actual work going to be?
Madam Chair and Commissioner Baca, so the original hotel couldn't be saved, so it's been demoed. So if you drive by the site, it's just a blank lot, a brand new hotel and restaurant space and meeting space will be built.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Benson, then Commissioner Frank Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Gonzalez, I just want to voice my support for this. One of the things that your report provided was the job creation, but the intangible job creation can't be stated here because we don't know, but just having a hotel in one of the coolest parts of Albuquerque is of high value and is almost intangible to put a price on. Bringing visitors to that specific area of town, which has been struggling. Zinc just closed down right down the street. You've got the Q Station across the street, but you also have parents from out of state who might be visiting their kids at UNM who want to be close to the area. And then while you have visitors staying there, they're going to be spending money down on the street at the restaurants, the gift shops, and the art shops, the tattoo parlors. So I think this is economic activity. I think this is a great example of how IRBs can be used to multiply dollars for economic productivity. And so, yeah, I think this is a great project. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Commissioner Frank Baca.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd just like to echo Commissioner Benson's comments. I've had a briefing on this earlier in the week, and it's just such a cool project in so many ways. I mean, I mean, first of all, just from nostalgia purposes, the Highway House Hotel, I mean, the sign is still there. The building's not, but the sign's still there. It's iconic. Being on Central Avenue and every effort there is to improve Central and in the Nob Hill area as well. And then so all that's great, and everything about it is really, really great and cool. But in specific, how it meets a very, very specific need of that area because of that, the Q station, which I really wasn't familiar with, and the types of business activity goes on there, and the needs for housing for people that come in to interact. I mean, it's just a great project from every perspective. So I just want to, congratulate everybody that was a part of that. It's a great addition to our community. Thank you so much.
And Madam Chair and Commissioner Baca and Commissioner Benson, just to let you know, we are working with Q Station to try to help them do an economic impact analysis of them moving to the Nob Hill area and what they've done for Hotel Zaz and for Matucci's across the street and all the other restaurants that are up and down there from having such of the space community and deep tech community and the Air Force community having those meetings and having events there at Q Station. That's really helping with the New Mexico Space Valley as well, and all of our space activity that is really happening out of the Nob Hill area, which is kind of funny because it's not really even associated with space, but that type of space activity that's happening there that's allowing our state to compete with Texas, Colorado, and parts of California with the next space race is happening at Q Station, and this will help support that as well. And also, we're keeping the sign, so the Highway Hotel is not going to go away.
Well done. Thank you, Officer Gonzalez. Any other discussion? Well, again, I just want to thank you again for a job well done, Officer Gonzalez. I really am excited. This is in my district. And I just want to make the note that we are the space corridor thanks to this project, but also, we have the Kirtland Air Force Base and the Atomic Museum and other things in the district that I think make us the perfect location for our space future. So thank you, Director. And I'd like to move for approval. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item, we have fiscal year 2025 third quarter budget reconciliation. Deputy County Manager Shirley Reagan to present, please.
You want to put on the record that she's going to present?
Oh, I guess Jackie, looks like Jackie Sanchez will be presenting.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I was going to say Jackie Sanchez is going to be presenting.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Jackie Sanchez, Director of Accounting and Budget. This is the fiscal year 2025 third quarter budget adjustments agenda. These agenda items are presented each quarter if there are any necessary budget adjustments. The county is required to submit quarterly detailed budget adjustments to the State Department of Finance and Administration, DFA, upon approval of the Board of County Commissioners. The FY25 budget was approved by the Board of County Commissioners on April 9th, 2024. It was also approved by the State of New Mexico DFA on August 26, 2024, per State Statute 6-6-2, NMSA 1978. The agenda consists of 3 motions to approve a financial resolution in the amount of $3,448,225 to appropriate and budget Road Fund 11007 fund balance for 3 technical services projects. To approve the conversion of 1 term to permanent full-time regular special projects coordinator position for behavioral health. And to authorize the county manager or designee pursuant to Administrative Resolution 2023-77 to seek reimbursement of the general fund for any project or initiative funded for the general fund that subsequently receives funding in whole or in part from an alternative funding source, such as another agency, bond proceeds, or grants. If the amount exceeds county manager authority, the item will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. In addition, staff are requesting suspension of the rules to allow for final adoption, coordination at the introduction to appropriate and budget the funding to continue with project timelines. In reference to motion 1, this contains the breakdown of technical services projects. 800,000 4th Street pavement for increased costs, 848,225 Cortez Drive Bridge Boulevard improvements, and 1.8 million University Boulevard extension. Approval of the appropriation will allow the department to encumber the funds and start work around June 1st, 2025. In reference to motion 2, seeking approval to convert one special projects coordinator position from a term with benefits to a full-time regular position to support the Deputy County Manager of Behavioral Health Division. Because of its classification, this position has been hard to fill. The position is budgeted in the Behavioral Health Gross Receipt Tax Fund. The University Boulevard extension will serve to accommodate increased traffic flow with a projected start of April 2025 and an estimated completion of March 2026. 4th Street pavement preservation would include a milling of existing roadway along 4th Street beginning at Alameda. The maintenance would include new pavement, adjustable manholes, pavement markings, signage, and other minor improvements. The projected start, June 2025, estimated completion, September 2025. Cortez Drive Bridge Boulevard improvements will encompass roadway improvements to the intersection of Bridge and Cortez Drive, in addition to turn lane improvements on Bridge near Catholic Charities. Projected start, June 2025, estimated completion, March 2026. I stand for questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jackie Sanchez. Is there any questions? Wonderful. Then I can make a motion, or if anyone wants to make a motion. Okay, I move to approve the fiscal year 2025 third quarter budget reconciliation. I have a second.
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Barbara Baca. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I believe that the second motion is to waive the, I don't believe we've done this yet. To expend the rules.
Oh, Madam Chair, that was done earlier in the agenda during the changes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I want to make sure I didn't miss that. And is there a second motion I'm missing around? No?
One motion and seconded for the entire agenda item is sufficient, if that's your question.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we are moving on to items 10, introduction of resolutions. So all resolutions require 2 hearings before final approval, except in cases of special exemption. The first hearing will serve as the resolution's introduction. The public is encouraged to review the introduction resolutions and sign up to ask questions or provide public comments. The following items will be returned at a subsequent meeting for final adoption consideration. Items 10A, Route 66 Visitor Center. Executive Development Officer Marcos Gonzalez again to present, and I believe this is Commissioner Frank Baca's bill, if you would like to introduce it at all.
Madam Chair, if I could just interrupt you for a brief moment. For the last item, 10D, move to 9C. I don't believe we had a roll call vote.
Sorry. So I did all that without the roll call. I'm sorry. Thank you,
No
everyone.
worries.
Okay, item 9C, I had a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca. Yes. Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, and always thank you, Julianne. Okay, again, items 10A, Commissioner Frank Baca, do you care to introduce your item?
Just very briefly, I look forward to hearing Director Director of Economic Development Gonzalez speak, but just briefly, it's a request for a sum money to support operations of the Visitor Center for the next 3 years. I know there's a long history to this project, but I'd like to have a few more comments after the comments by Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Gonzalez to present.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so just for clarification, this is for the Route 66 Visitor Center, which is at 12300 Central on the far west side. The Visitor Center was constructed in 2022, which was a partnership between the city of Albuquerque, the county, and then there was many legislators that also put in some state funds as well. In 2022, we had agreed that the city would provide $250,000 to the county to maintain the facility. And then in 2024, it was better served for the city to actually maintain the facility. And at that time in February of 2024, there was a request for funding to go to the city for funding, and that motion did not pass. So we're back here today to once again request the $250,000 that would be annually for the operations and the maintenance of the facility for the next 3 years. The city would be using these funds to activate the visitor center and really get it geared up to being able to get to operationally being open more than just 4 days a week, and being able to push it out and building events and building the use of the community actually using the facility as their event center continuously, and eventually get it to the point where it would be self-sustainable in the operations that are happening there. So the next steps would be to approve this resolution and then have it come back, and then would be allocating funding starting in FY26. But with that, we stand for any questions on the funding for the Route 66 Visitor Center.
Thank you. I'm going to try to do this right. I was told that we're supposed to get a motion and a second and then move to discussion. So, Commissioner Frank Baca, would you like to provide a motion?
Yes, I would like to have a motion. I do think there's some discussion, some nuances to this, and I don't know if it would be appropriate to discuss that before we actually vote on the motion. I'll leave that to staff to.
We won't vote. We're just going to get a motion and a second and then move to discussion.
Okay.
And then we'll vote after that.
Okay. Well, my question is that could we have a discussion before we have the vote?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a second. Now we can move to discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So this project has a long storied history, and that I am only learning about really in the last few months. I was aware of the project over the years from afar, as simply reading the newspaper and watching the news. And so I had, to be honest with you, mixed feelings about it over the years. Since I was approached to seek this additional funding, I tried to do a little bit of research and a little bit of due diligence about the project and the nature of the project and who it serves. And I did go back and look at the meeting discussion that occurred in April of last year and the documentation that was submitted at that time. And what I also did over the last few months is I happen to attend a lot of neighborhood association meetings, and I've gone to many on the Southwest Mesa, and I just simply asked them what they thought about this. I wanted to know, what the feeling of the organization and people involved in these associations were about this. And without question, they all supported this, this project without any debate, without any dissent whatsoever. However, I still wanted to get more information, a greater feel for it. I did have the opportunity to go inside the building. If you haven't been there, it's a sight. It's absolutely a magnificent building with a great view of the mountains. It's well designed, where they have a stage. I mean, it's just an amazing facility. I was invited to an event about 2 weeks ago, I believe, the West Fest, I believe it was called, and we attended, and it just was I was so impressed, overwhelmed, I guess is the appropriate word, in terms of the number of people that showed up, the energy of the volunteers that organized it. I mean, we just had such a great time being there. And what I saw is one half of the two components that this will, in terms of the communities that it will serve. What I saw is the local community that were there. And I'm not sure how it was advertised. I don't know if it's someone told me by the radio, I don't know. But there were just hundreds and hundreds of people from the local community there. And again, it was such a great event. It was just a pleasure to be there. But the other side of this, of course, is what benefit it could have to the greater community. This is situated in my district, the South of Central. Of course, I have interest in that, and the community in that area is supporting of it. So, of course, I am supportive of it. But I think there is a great potential down the line in the future for it to develop into something that will be a community-wide benefit of the entire community. I don't know how that's going to get done, and I don't quite frankly know if it will get done, but I do think that there is a potential for it to get done. And if it does happen, it will be truly a shining light for Bernalillo County because of the magnificence of the building and the energy of its supporters. So having said all of that, I do understand there are many, complexities to this type of project in terms of it now owned by the city, and we deeded it to them, I believe, at lock, stock, and barrel. And but there was some discussion, some mention, I understand, of agreeing to contribute. I don't know that I wasn't on the commission at the time. I don't know the details of it. But I also know that there's issues about budget. I get it. I totally understand that. There's issues in regards to, how much money, if any, we can afford over and above what we're set at the current budget. So I understand that. But at the same time, again, I see the potential for this to develop into something that's really something Albuquerque and Bernalillo County can be proud of. And so what I'm leading towards is that, having thought about it quite a bit, I would kind of, we have an idea that's been kind of bouncing around in my brain. It doesn't have a long ways to go back and forth inside that. But the idea has come to my attention in my mind of another way of funding it. And that would be through the discretionary funds allocated for each commissioner. And I am certainly absolutely willing to consider that, entertain that, but there are some nuances to that I need to understand because it's a big chunk of that money, $250,000, a big chunk of that money, and I need to explore that a little bit more. But I'm certainly willing to do that because I think it's such a magnificent project with so much potential that I would like to see this go forward today and come back, whether it's in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, but to give us a little bit more time to just explore those nuances. But if all else fails, I feel pretty strongly that we'll be able to fund that, if not through our budget, through the DDF process, because I just think it's such, I just have been convinced. And I will say, honestly, as I said before, I started off being very skeptical. But over the last couple of months, I have been convinced, and with facts and with simply being there and seeing it in person, I understand the potential. And so I think one way or another, we can get this done. But I would like to, at the very least, I would ask the commissioners to support just moving it forward one step, give us a little bit more time to work out the nuances, and I think that other option is a very viable option that I would be happy to entertain.
Thank you, Commissioner. Frank Baca, is there any other comments or questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Baca, good on you for putting your money where your mouth is. Looking into this further, though, I do see the benefit that your district would receive from this. I think it's needed in District 2, especially in that part of town. And it just needs some help to get going. But I think at some point, I think it would be self-sustaining. We just need to prime the pump. So I support it. I support the county's work with the city to manage this. But I will leave it to the commission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Barbara Baca.
I have some concerns about this because where we are is prior to hearing our budgetary conversation this evening. It is promising forward recurring funding of $250,000, $750,000 for this over 3 years. So I have some concerns about that. So I was going to move to defer so that we could, I know there's a motion on the table, and so I won't be able to do that. We'll have to vote on this motion first. I do feel that it would be appropriate to defer until we have some answers from our county manager, from our deputy county manager on finance, because this is a general fund request, and we don't know what the state of our general fund is. I have many questions that we're going to be, bringing up in the next minute or two about our general fund. But when we got our first presentation, we were $22 million short. We had a deficit. So I have a real question about how are we now having a balanced budget, and that conversation truly needs to be had tonight. And the secondary thing is that the county has already put $3.6 million in this, $155,000 in the land. We've been a good partner with the city on this, so good that we have now gifted it to the city so that it can be run, because I think our market analysis showed that this probably can't be self-sustaining, and it probably will have to have governmental assistance like many arts and cultural facilities, and I'm in agreement with that. So I don't think that this will be a self-sustaining facility, and it will continue to require governmental assistance, and that is what the city, when they accepted the gift, I thought were going to do. And I don't know whether they've included it, but they have a $1.5 billion budget. The city's budget is much larger than the county's. And if they move forward on that, certainly they are in the throes of the budgeting right now as well. So with all of that in the air, it seems to me that it would be better to defer this and not, determine that tonight. But what I would say is that perhaps the DDF is the right way to go with Commissioner Baca. I just really feel that our partnership has been big and broad with the county now. It's now a city facility. I think, as I said when we talked about this before, I think it's found a good home with the city sponsoring this in their arts and culture department. So I would hope that would consider to defer this, Commissioners, so that we can take a hard look at our budget before we're asked to earmark, or even to move forward the possibility of earmarking $750,000 for the operation of the visitor center. So that's my statement.
If I may.
Thank you, Commissioner Barbara Baca. I have some questions too, but did you want to say something, Commissioner Frank Baca?
Yes, thank you. And I totally hear Commissioner Barbara Baca's statements, and I think we were concerned by our budget hearing a week or two ago, and it was, somewhat, so I get it. I get it, and that's why I feel that there is a way to do this without impact.
Commissioner, if I can have your mic on, please, thank you.
I'm sorry. There is a way to deal with this without impacting that budget. I think there is, but I just think that the logistics have to be worked out because I'm not sure that I understand the process well enough to do that. So I guess that's what I'm saying is that I don't think that I will come back to be asking for that this year, unless there's some windfall that just comes into our offices next week and we find $50 million somewhere. But I think we can do it through this other alternative method. I do think that we can. But I would just, it's kind of splitting hairs to some extent by saying defer it or just move it on to the second reading as we call it. I don't, but I think I feel very confident so long as I get all the answers and details for how the DDF part of it would work and when it would come out and all that kind of good stuff. I just have some real questions, but I understand and I have those same concerns in terms of our budget. We are stewards of public money, and I get it. I totally get it, but there is an opportunity to do that without any impact on the. And I'll be honest with you, in terms of one of the thoughts that also entered in my mind is how long would this be? Would it be would 1 year be enough? Would it be? I think we took 3 years out of air. Would it be 2 years? Would it be 3 years? Would it be 5 years? What is exactly being asked of us? And all these are questions I don't have, but I think as far as this year's budget, I feel fairly confident that it will be unlikely to impact, our budget, which is a major concern, which I totally get and respect. Don't have any issue with that. I think that's very prudent to be asking those questions, having those concerns that Commissioner Barbara Baca has. I don't have any problems with that philosophically at all. So my personal preference is just move it forward. I'm not absolutely wed to that. If there's some thought that maybe a deferral would be a better way, I'm not necessarily opposed to that either. I just basically say I just need some time to work out some of the details, and I feel for those that are interested in this project, I just want to convey a sentiment that I feel very confident we're going to be able to get this done for you this first year, and then have to explore the mechanics of that, and then have the other discussions for the future, which definitely needs more conversation. So I guess that's where I'm at. I prefer to go forward, but I would also consider and wouldn't have any hard feelings with agreeing to Commissioner Barbara Baca's request to defer it as well. I think it's the same difference because it'll come back either way.
How do I talk, Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we used to be able to just vote and pass a resolution at the will of the commission, which is how it's always been done. But because the rules have been changed, now we can't unless it's voted to sideline those rules. So this wouldn't even be a vote to pass a resolution. It would just be passing it for further discussion at the next meeting. So in a sense, by moving forward with this, it still is in deferral for a final vote at the next meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have a couple of questions. And I think maybe Executive Officer Gonzalez, or I'm not sure if Commissioner Frank Baca understood. I was there, I voted for the city to take ownership of this, thinking that it was in the best interest. I think it is so important. We have this big, beautiful building. I would hate to see it suffocate under not being supported. And I don't quite understand. I would love to understand more about what is happening at the building. I heard that there was West Fest. The last I heard was that there was some reason and I thought the reason why we're asking for this funding was because it was inoperable. for some reason. Can somebody please explain to me, is it up and running? And I heard 4 days. Somebody please explain what is going on with that facility right now?
Madam Chair, if I may proceed.
Your mic.
Yes, please.
If I turn on my mic, but I've got to proceed.
Yes, please.
I don't know the answer specific to that, but I believe there's somebody in the room from the city who could give you some specifics. If Mr. Diego Lucero is here, I believe he's here. And what I can tell you, for the event that I attended the Saturday before last, we were only in the outside of the building, the exterior, the lock that had been inside the building. It looked pretty complete to me, but I understand there's some punch list items that perhaps Mr. Lucero can elaborate on.
And Madam Chair, just to let everybody know, they did have West Fest at the facility, but they're finalizing some hiring to be able to actually have the manager and event coordinator start, and will be public programming will start in the June-July timeframe, and they'll be open Thursday through Sunday, and then in August and September, being able to expand out additional operations there as they increase the staffing at the facility. But I'll let Mr. Lucero comment on their punch list items of being able to actually get it operable to the public use starting later this summer.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, that's exactly where we're at as far as getting up to programming. We did have some issues when we received the building that we had to work through that are somewhat close. There was, some fire suppression issues, stuff of that nature, and then, of course, switching over to like city network, those type of things. So it's taken us a little while to get up and running, just working through some of those issues, but we're finally in a position that those positions are live, and trying to get some people in there to operate it for us.
And so does that mean that, right?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I just had the question, Madam Chair. We have had the certificate of occupancy, though, for quite some time. So it's not a punch list of the completion of the building. We've had a CO for quite some time, so.
We did. It was a challenge for us to find that, but it took us a couple months to understand where the COO was, and then, but yeah, we do.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, sorry.
But if I could, Mr. Lucero, thank you. So are you saying that right now, operations inside the building is not operable right now?
I would, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, I would say we are very, very close. We've pretty much worked through all of those issues that we found when we stepped into the building. And that's why we felt like we were in a good position to post those positions so that we can have somebody operate on a daily basis.
And then what, from the city's perspective, do you anticipate that this is, on the presentation that Marcos gave right there, it said that in 2022, there was a request for 3 years of funding. Was there funding then? And if we're asking for a 3-year again, what is the expectation? Does the city expect for this to become a self-sustaining project, or?
Well, I guess we, Madam Chair, County Commissioners, we're exploring a lot of revenue generating options at this time, including rentals, partnerships, and special events, those type of things. But very exploratory at this point.
Okay, and then right now, when we say public, Marcos mentioned public programming. What does public programming look like for the building?
To start, I think we're thinking, weekend events, much like West Fest. West Fest was put on by the community. They did that all on their own, and that's something that they've done for years. But replicating those type of ideas, something that's good for the community, and then also as we gear up for the centennial year, being able to have programming through the entire year.
So right now, there's not programming necessarily like mapped out for the rest of the year or anything like that.
Not fully mapped out, but yeah, we've lot of brainstorming. We have a lot of plans and ideas, but nothing set in stone until we have staff in the building.
Okay, and then of the past, I think 3 years that we've been working on this, that I've heard it's going to be open. One of the things I heard during that time was that there was something about a liquor license or ability to get one or not get one that was holding up. Is that true? Yeah, is that true?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, we haven't pursued that just yet, but our approach for a little while is more of a pop-up idea where we can get short-term licenses for breweries, those type of things. So when we do have events, they can come in and use the tap room in that way. But that would be, for the weekend or whatever that might be.
And then another question, sorry, is there currently, like, as Commissioner Barbara Baca was mentioning, the county and city partnered on this. I think we've probably split the cost down the middle up to the building, or I don't know how much. I think Commissioner Baca said 3.6 million on the building, 155,000 on the loan, on the land. Is there any written policy or anything that ensures us that Bernalillo County as an entity could make use of this site? I mean, I think I would expect it, but I don't know if there's anything sort of in writing about us being able to make use of the site, maybe have participate in some of those public events.
Madam Chair, County Commissioners, absolutely. We haven't had those discussions, but yeah, we would love that.
Okay. All right.
And Madam Chair, I would like to add in as well that our partners at Albuquerque Regional Economic Alliance will also be they also use the facility a lot when we're meeting with prospective clients that are looking at the upper petroglyphs area. So the meeting space is very nice to be able to bring in everybody from Public Works or PNM or whoever it may be to do presentations to companies as well. And we look forward to being able to have that space again to be able to do that because it's very conducive to meet with the company, have folks rotate in and out.
And would we say that this request for 250,000 over several years is is that mostly staff? It sounds like the building, the structure's done. Are we talking operations like staff, and what else would that include and how did we come up with the 250 as a number?
Madam Chair, so the 250K is also from staffing as well as partially for utilities and then some ongoing repair and maintenance of the facility. But majority of the funds would be used for staffing.
Okay, thank you very much for that information.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Barbara Baca.
I have a question for the county manager relating to the budget, and maybe a question that Commissioner Frank Baca asked. So this resolution, it's the first hearing, but it specifically says that it's coming from, we would be moving it forward to come from the general fund, recurring for 3 consecutive years. So this, as we move this forward, we would be saying yes to the possibility of $750,000 coming out of our general fund. Am I reading it correctly?
Well, the way the document is reading, that's how I would read it too. However, if you gave us direction to say, look at options and bring them back, we would do that because of the point that Commissioner Baca raised. And let me just add one thing that is something that DCM CDO White is working on, and that is to restructure the method in which you're able to use your district-directed funds. It's been convoluted and I think rather difficult, and we're going to bring back some ideas for you so that fund, because it's crystal clear that it should be helping your district, it's within your purview, you bring it forward to ask the process would be to bring it forward to ask your colleagues to support your efforts to make it easier for you to invest those funds in your own district. That will be coming back to you in May.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other further questions, discussion?
Madam Chair, if I just add one more point, the
Yes.
total salaries and operations of the facility that the annual operation budget the city gave to us is $758,139. So just a little over $758,000 in annual expenses to operate the facility. So the 250 would pay for about a third of the operations of the facility.
Thank you for that information. Yeah, that is a lot of money and to commit. I don't feel the same as maybe some of my colleagues around the pressure of the current budget. I worry that, people are a little worried about what's coming ahead with the federal administration. And we know there'll be things coming ahead, and right now we're in where we are at. But I do get worried over the 3-year commitment, the recurring commitment. I think we should meet up with that every year, knowing that we are in a flat budget this year and we don't know what next year is. I hate to commit to beyond what we know we have in front of us for too long. But so I guess I have a question to Julianne, maybe our county manager. So if we pass this tonight, we can pass with either some instructions. What are the options for Commissioner Frank Baca to consider both recurring dollars, where the funding source is? If we pass this evening, can he make those changes? Should he want to, before the next meeting?
So because these are new rules, I'm gonna say what I think they mean, and Julianne will jump on the mic if I'm incorrect. So what I think this means is that any direction that you give us, that you vote on, we will come back to you in 2 weeks, as we would based on the current procedures that this allows for. So if you give us direction, you vote on a majority for that direction, we will come back to you with whatever the options are that you've asked us to pursue. Julianne, is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
So, Commissioner Frank Baca, we've made a motion, which was to move this. It's been seconded. Is that how you wish to proceed? And do you have any comments for us?
Yes, so thank you. Oops. One of these days I'm gonna remember that, I don't know when, but, thank you. So, what I'm thinking about is we're talking, and I, again, fully aware of the budgetary constraints and the discussions we've had about budget. And so, what I'm thinking about is I can only commit, I think, to 1 year, and I just want to make sure I can commit to that and the mechanics of making that happen. Which is something I need some time to fully vet and discuss and understand, as well as the city, right? And there we probably need to have some meetings over there. But I at the same time would like to see it go forward. But because of the concern about a 3-year commitment, I would be willing to not include the 3-year commitment part of it and just make it for the next year, basically whatever the next year would be, because I think I can cover that. And then after that period of time, there may be a need for additional discussion, which may be come back before this entire commission and seek operating funds from our budget, or maybe or maybe not, and me being able to be in a position to fund that from DDF. But if that's a big sticking point, I think that I would be okay with that, eliminating that 3-year period of time, and that'll just, but still push it forward. I don't see the need for that, I really don't, but I just want to make sure that we've covered our bases in this, and that might, if that would help anybody, I would be willing to offer that.
Well, there is a motion and a second on the floor. I'll make my last comment if anyone else wants to comment. I'm so happy this is your first thing you bring in front of us. I'm happy to support it because I believe you've done the work to speak with your community about what they want, what they need. I'm hopeful that we can use this center, and this is within your district. So I want to trust your expertise for what your community needs and wants. So I'm happy to support this. I do ask that you look at the recurring dollars when we do an actual vote next time, and consider your funding sources. Although I know yeah, I support this overall, so.
Madam
Let's,
Chair?
is there any other, yes, go ahead, Commissioner Bach.
So perhaps, Commissioner Baca, there's a friendly amendment that you could consider on the last page of the resolution, item 2, and that's where it talks about a 3-year commitment of $250,000 each year. And so that you can consider using your DDF for the 1 year. I mean, you don't have to come back to us to use your DDF. I mean, that can be determined by each of the commissioners to use their DDF for appropriate things in their district or countywide. However, this could be helped by item 2 saying $250,000 and you delete for the next 3 years and simply say 250,000 for FY upcoming. What is that, 26? Is that right, Shirley? July 1 would be FY
Yes, that's
26.
correct. FY '26.
So that would be a friendly amendment that we could move this forward and then consider it at the next meeting. And you might have more information on where the funding would come from and if it came from your DDF. I mean, I really do feel like we need to be careful with our general fund monies when we have before us people that are living on the streets and we're talking about where are we going to get money for housing and homelessness and, you know, those kinds of things. And giving $750,000 for 3 years and tying us down to that when we don't know the answer to those kind of questions is a concern. I think we should be concerned about that. But if we introduce this now with that amendment, we can hear from the budget folks and hear in a few minutes and make a more educated decision as we move forward in the next meeting. So that's a request for a friendly amendment.
And I would, as I said, I would accept that. I don't think it precludes me from going back in the future, going back in the future.
It doesn't.
But I'm hoping that it wouldn't, be necessary. Or if it was, that, we would be more comfortable financially, in terms of our situation financially, in regards to our budget, maybe next year than we are right now. So yeah, just to move this forward, I would accept that friendly amendment.
So do you have that language, Julia?
So just for clarity, it is an amendment to utilize district-directed funding.
You can name the line in the. It is not specific to district direct, it's
It's for-
removing the recurring.
So we would need a motion and a second on the amendment.
So my motion is on on the last page of the resolution, item 2, Bernalillo County shall contribute $250,000 for FY '26, strike a fiscal year for 3 years to the city of Albuquerque, and the rest goes on. Would you second that, Commissioner?
Yes, I will second it.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Madam Clerk, please call roll on the amendment.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
No.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes. Thank you. And so now we'll move on to the original, what would you like? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you. Your first item, congratulations, passes. And looking forward to, we'll have another vote in a couple of weeks, I guess. We're all getting used to these new rules, so.
Madam Chair, I just have
Yes,
one.
Commissioner Baca.
Thank you for personal privilege. I just have to say that the reason for introduction of a resolution and then a secondary vote is for the transparency and for the public engagement aspect of what we're trying to do here. And this change that this commission has voted for, and, you know, there's been some objections for the opioid money, for example. It allows those 2 weeks for people when they read or come to our meeting to have the opportunity to weigh in. So it is a good thing that we have these new rules, in my humble opinion. So I just wanted to be on the record to talk about those rules. Thank you. Oh, and if we need to tweak those, you know, that is another conversation that we as a group should be making, not specific to any particular resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner Baca. I agree that I love the transparency, and I think we need mechanisms both for folks to. I think what this has made me realize, and we're all in practice here, but right, is that we need mechanisms for folks to actually give those weigh-in. I don't know when our portals open for folks to be able to weigh in, or if there is a public space for folks to weigh in between those two voting periods. I haven't seen that. And then I'm not quite clear myself, so maybe I need to understand from our staff what it means when we usually introduce something that's not voting on the actual item, is just introducing it for discussion and we don't vote, and then we have the period and then we make a vote. So it's a little weird now to vote on something that might fully change again. And like you said, I need this for all the resolutions, not just for this particular one. So I think we're in progress, and I look forward to us ironing out any of these kinks. So thank you. Okay, so item 10C, Behavioral Health Authority Division, our Addiction Treatment Advisory Board, which is a fabulous board of volunteers that meet regularly to help us, and Dr. Lindstrom, Deputy County Manager Wayne Lindstrom, will introduce the presenters, and we'll be hearing the resolution.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. On behalf of the Addiction Treatment Advisory Board, we ask that you entertain a motion to approve for introduction an administrative resolution establishing, or reestablishing, in essence, the Addiction Treatment Advisory Board with a new composition. I would like to introduce to you Dr. Barbara McCready, who's the Vice Chair of the Addiction Treatment Advisory Board, and she has a proposal on behalf of the board relative to a new composition for the board, and she'll explain the rationale and why they're proposing this change. Dr. McCready?
Welcome, Dr. McCready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Dr. Rivka Stern, who's the chair, is going to speak first, and we do have a PowerPoint.
Great. Welcome, Dr. Stern.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Madam Chair and Commissioners, I am Dr. Rivka Stern, as we said, family physician, and I'm chair of the ATAB board. The Bernalillo County Addiction Treatment Advisory Board, called ATAB, was formed in 2017 to be an advisory body staffed with medical professionals and addiction specialists that would make policy recommendations to help align the county's programming and methods used for service delivery related to addiction treatment and harm reduction services. The services of the advisory body would help establish consistency and ensure best practices for county-administered programs and services. So we are just making a few changes to the current board, not a lot, and we've done this a few times as systems have realigned or we found that we needed input from other members of the community to help guide us. I also want to take this moment to tell all of you what a pleasure and honor it is to work with Dr. Wayne Lindstrom, the Deputy County Manager. It is just wonderful to be all working together for the greater good. So we're very pleased, and we want to do what we can to support his work. Right now, we have potential to have 15 people on our board. However, right now we only have 11 members. And we have not been able to fill 4 positions for at least a year. And so in the last year, because we do want to have a diverse body of people on the board, we decided that we should change some of the board composition. We've taken away the 3 positions that were specifically for the hospitals. Even though we have people from the hospitals on there, they really have expertise in other areas. And I think initially it was to try and bring a voice of addiction within the hospitals, and that it's much more acceptable now. And I think you can see the current composition on the PowerPoint. So we looked for a long time to find somebody representing veterans, and we couldn't. And we are still working to find somebody representing youth. However, a lot of the people representing youth are already get money from the county, so they can't be on the board. And Dr. McCready will talk about the proposed new board positions.
If we could have the next slide, that's perfect. So we are proposing 3 new members, essentially to replace the hospital representatives. I'm also going to mention we're recommending some redefinitions of some positions. But the new members, one would be a person with expertise in policy and organizational expertise, because many of the issues that we have to address are at an organizational level rather than an individual or clinical level, and most of our committee members have a clinical perspective. The second new member that we're proposing is somebody with expertise with Indigenous or other underrepresented populations. I'm not sure this needs any explanation because we have a very diverse state, and certainly the Indigenous populations are woefully overrepresented in addictions issues and underrepresented in terms of access to services. And then the third new member, we decided to leave that as open as possible, just another community representative. We've had a number of applicants to the board who didn't fit in any of our slots, but were just superb people who really wanted to contribute to our efforts. And so we want to make that more available. In addition, we think it's important to have physician representation on the board. So the first 2 positions, we want to restrict to basically either someone who's a physician or with other medical expertise. You'll also see a position, Dr. Amred, God, I can never pronounce his name correctly, but anyway, he was the UNM representative, but his expertise really is in psychopharmacology and addiction medicines, and we wanted to have that more clearly represented going forward. And then finally, we've had 2 peer support worker positions on the board, and we want to be explicit that at least one of those could also be a person with lived experience who wasn't necessarily a certified peer support worker. So with that, I think we have finished our presentation and we stand for any questions that you would have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCready and Dr. Stern. And again, thank you. Again, I made a clear point to say that folks volunteer their time to help us get it right for our folks living with substance use disorder in our community. So I just really appreciate your time and commitment and passion in this field. Thank you all. Thank you to everybody who serves on that board. Well, I would definitely move approval and then we can have, if I could get a second, and we can move to discussion.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Barbara Baca. And now any questions or comments for our presenters? Yes, Commissioner Frank Baca.
Let me turn on my mic first. First must remind me. A couple just thoughts or comments, and in terms of the expertise on this committee, this board, very impressive. And I guess it's my question, and I have limited knowledge, but I am personally aware of two board certified, I believe, addictionologists in the state. I don't know if there's more than two, but I know of two. Are there? And Dr. Linson is nodding. So, are there numerous board certified addictionologists in the state?
Yeah. Yes, there are.
And are any of them on this board?
Commissioner Barboa, yes, Dr. Anjali Taneja is board certified in addiction medicine. I've been working in the addiction medicine field for over 15 years. I'm a family physician, but this has become my major specialty at this time. So we have lots of people. UNM in family medicine has a year-long addiction specialist fellowship after, and I think they're doing that in psychiatry and one other of the residencies as well.
And I would add, I'm a clinical psychologist, and I've spent my entire career in the addictions field. At one point, there was a certification for psychologists in addictions, and I was certified under that program. The American Psychological Association has discontinued that program.
Thank you. I'm just throwing out a couple of names just because I happen to know them. I have no idea they'd be interested or vice versa, but Dr. Paul Romo and Dr. John V. Hill, people that I'm personally familiar with who I know to be board certified addictionologists who practice in this field every day. And again, I don't know if they'd be interested or eligible considering their practice. I just want to mention that. They would also serve the purpose of, as mentioned, to have sort of a culturally diverse group, which appears currently to be lacking, in my view. So just a thought. In addition, just in terms of comments, because I'm late to this game. I wasn't involved in the whole process. I get it. I understand. I'm still catching up, but I am trying to catch up, and as I'm reading and continuing to read and understand the process, the two concerns that I have that I'll continue to identify that I'm sure are being addressed, as I speak, as this committee goes forward, is number one, a duplication of services and the attempt to not have that occur, because I'm sure there are lots of good organizations and programs out there, but how do we identify the very specific need that's not being addressed, and how do we avoid just giving money to a very good program, but there's not a specific need because there's several other programs already doing that? So that's just a general thought. And then the other thing that I marked as I was going through the documentation that was given to me, I believe, is the compliance. And I've been in many boards and organizations over the years, in many different subjects, and sometimes we give lip service to compliance, and we sort of check off a box that yes, there are X number of people, yes, there have certain number of appointments, but the question I always raise is, but is there a result? Can they measure the actual result? Not just fulfilling the contractual requirements, but are they actually seeing a change in behavior in their community? And I don't know how to do that, but I know there are also specialists that do that, whose job it is to do that. And I know you've thought about it and talked about it in your report. I get it. But it's just something from my perspective that I think is absolutely crucial, and just a question that I personally will continue to ask and to want to discuss, because if we're not having targeted services to the actual need and not having data-driven results in terms of the outcome, then we're spending a lot of money and for good intentions. But at this point in time, I think I speak for myself and people that I speak to in my community. I think there's just a lot of desire just to see results and not necessarily see money spent. We really want to see results and data showing that there are results. So those are just comments, and I appreciate all that you do. And I'm not trying to be, talking to the choir here. I get it, but it's just the themes that I have, that will be popping up from time to time every time I have a chance to speak on it. But anyway, thank you so much. That's my comment.
I would like to respond to that, Madam Chair,
Definitely.
Commissioner.
Yes.
And your points are very well taken. One of the major initiatives that ATAB is undertaking right now is to recommend to the county standards of care for the treatment of different addictive behaviors or addictions, including alcohol, opioids, methamphetamines, and so on. And we've been working very closely with Dr. Lindstrom on this, and the long-term vision is that these, our recommendations will help guide the county in how what they're looking for in terms of their standards for funding different programs. And part of our recommended standards of care include evaluation and ways to document the success of the program. So we very much resonate with what you're saying and appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McCready. And I just wanted to, and I am very thankful that you're here, Commissioner Frank Baca, and asking questions specifically about behavioral health and about results. I think we are in the same place. I think many of us on this commission are. I just want to make sure to be clear that ATAP does not cost us any money other than staffing that we provide to do some liaison and help run the Zoom or whatever. And that's our very important position with that staff that we do spend, but this is not a program that's getting paid for. I just want to make sure that. And I do think that, with Dr. Lindstrom's leadership, there's greater potential for the things coming out of this. I remember when I first came on, there was so much richness happening. I was attending almost every one of the ATAB meetings, and I was like, why aren't we talking about this in the other place, or why isn't it getting transferred over? And so then as soon as I brought that up, we were able to make some, I'll never forget the day that I actually saw them saying we can create standards of care for those weekend times when we can't reach the doctor and we have somebody in MDC and they need their methadone or to continue their medical assisted treatment. And we were just at a standstill where at MDC we're just saying, we can't do it if we don't talk to the doctor. Well, all these doctors told us, actually you can, here's a minimum that you can give so that the person can get through the weekend until you're able to get to their doctor. So this is just one example of the many times that these doctors providing their own, coming to us voluntarily in their own time, have been able to just increase the way we provide services. And I think under Dr. Lindstrom's leadership, we have even more, because there's an opening and a possibility and a potential there to work closer together. And I believe that's why they also thanked and enjoyed working with him, because I don't think in times before there wasn't a lot of collaboration. So I'm always appreciate your comments, Commissioner Baca, and I would encourage you to attend, and also recommend your doctors, the two that ask them to send in their resumes and be on this board. I've met both of them thanks to you, and I think they would make great additions to this board and serve our county well. So I believe we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
She's running from getting a drink of water.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, for the record, Commissioner Barbara Baca, can you repeat your vote?
Yes, I.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stern and Dr. McCready. Thank you always for your time, and you have an approval.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Lindstrom.
And then there was an option.
All right. Wait, I want to be clear. Sorry, I am really getting to learn this new phase. So we will also bring this back to the next meeting. So there's a period between now that people can comment, and then I'm assuming it will probably be on our consent agenda next time. Is that true? Or do they have permission to change their?
So this was for Madam
Chair. This was for introduction, so it will return for final adoption in May.
Thank you very much. So you all will return for final adoption in May. Just want to make sure I'm being clear.
Which may be on consent, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's only 7:30 and we're going into our biggest item, E, our budget, fiscal year 2026 budget approval. Can we have County Manager and Deputy County Manager Shirley Reagan to present?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, I'm Shirley Reagan, Deputy County Manager of Finance. I'm here to talk about the fiscal year 26 budget, agenda item number 2447. I'm going to skip these slides and come back to them since they are the actions and start with the overview. So the FY26 budget preparation began in November of 2024. The budget team was very instrumental in getting with the departments and working with everyone. We had budget development meetings, like I said, the individual departments with throughout the county, throughout the entire process. We had 2 retreats with the county manager, the deputy county managers, human resources, IT, and county legal participated, and those were on January the 29th and March the 6th. We had 2 Board of County Commissioner budget workshops on February 17th and March 18th. And then we had our public hearing on April the 10th. The FY26 budget supports Bernalillo County strategic goals and priorities founded in transparency and being financially responsible. The budget, the general fund budget let me back up. The general fund expenditure base budget for fiscal year 2026 is $453,438,306, which is 2.5% higher than the budget for fiscal year 25. That is made up of $423,149 for division operations and $2,015,157 for the PILT fund. At the time that we had the public hearing, we were still $22 million out of balance. And so we are now balanced. We spent that time between the April 10th meeting and now balancing the budget. So the table on the right of the screen shows that we were the 22 million off. The first item that we had to take into account was a revenue adjustment. You heard Assessor Lotto talk about House Bill 47 for the Constitutional Amendment 2, which was increasing the the veterans exemption from $4,000 to $10,000. And the estimate of that is about a $2 million reduction in revenue for fiscal year 26. The next items we adjusted were expense related. As we scrubbed through the numbers that the departments gave us, we found some different items that we could either remove or make adjustments to. But we have to remember the budget is always a point in time, so the numbers shift as we start scrubbing the data. The first item that we removed was related to the MDC medical contract, which was $15.1 million. And that was based on an estimate of how it was growing. We are currently working with UNMH, MDC, and the finance area and others, and the county manager. And we have reduced that down to where it's more about, we took that whole item off the plate. So in the budget, what we had was $22 million for the medical contract itself. There was $4.4 million for the MATs and $3 million for the risk insurance. So now the gap has been filled with other funding, and it's about $6 million. We're still working through that. We met today, right before this meeting, and we're going to have a follow-up meeting with the county manager as we continue to make those adjustments. Some of the other items we were working with the departments. We had some cleanup of payroll changes. And all of these, what I'm talking about now, are recurring items. We had some additional contingency in the healthcare GRT. In each of the funds, we set aside recurring dollars to account for emergencies and things like that. So we were able to make some adjustments there. We had in the contracts, we've been scrubbing the contracts, and the same thing there. There was some adjustments that we could make. In our insurance, risk insurance, and health insurance pools, we were able to, we had contingencies there, but as the estimates came in, they came in a little bit lower, so we were able to add back some money on that and make those adjustments. So overall, we also had some one-time funding when we look at FY '25, and we did our projections. The budget team worked with departments, and we looked at the actuals that were coming in. We have experienced some salary expenditure savings, so we were going to use 1.6 million of that to balance the FY '26 budget. And FY '25 operational expenditures of almost $4.2 million. So that will bring the budget into balance. So the little summary at the bottom there, you can see the summary for the revenue it started at 453 million. We took out 2 million, which brought it to 451 million. On the expense side, it was 475 million. We took out 4.24 million, which brought it also to the 451, 423, 149 for a balanced budget. This is just a quick summary. You've seen it before. This is now looking at the FY '26 revenues, which total out to the $451 million. 94% of our general fund budget, revenue budget, comes from the property tax revenue and gross receipts tax revenue. This is the expenditure side of the budget, and it's just broken down by department between payroll and operating. So I just wanted to show that so that you could see how the two sides balance and the information works together. So if I go back up to, let me see, wait a minute. Our next steps, and I still need to talk about the motions that we have before you, is that if we get through tonight, we will be coming back, because it's mostly an introduction. We will be coming back on May 13th for final adoption of the budget resolutions. Between May 14th and May 22nd, the department budget liaisons and the budget office staff will be preparing for the submission of the line item details to the state of New Mexico for the budget. June 1st, we have to have it submitted to DFA, and they will, per state statute, and then near the end, they take about a month to analyze our budget and make sure that our revenues can cover our expenditures and all the processes that they go through. And they issue an interim approval of the budget around July 1, which will allow us to start spending that money for fiscal year '26, which begins July 1 of 2025. So I'm going to go back up. The requests that we have are, first is to approve the introduction of a financial resolution, number 1, establishing the County of Bernalillo General Fund budget of $453,448,306 for FY '26 as detailed in Attachment A. The second motion is to approve the introduction of a financial resolution, number 2, establishing the County of Bernalillo non-general fund budget of $305,295,056 for FY '26 as also detailed in Attachment 1. The third motion is to approve the introduction of a financial resolution, number 3, establishing the County of Bernalillo carryover budget for multi-year projects of $918,043 for FY '26 detailed in Attachment B. The next motion would be to approve the introduction of an administrative resolution to support the grants and projects listed in Attachment C, funded by various sources in FY '26 for receipt of the federal and state funding. The next motion is to approve 22 new full-time regular positions, 21 of which are in the non-general funds. The majority of those are in the Behavioral Health Division to support the establishment of his division and the structure that was approved by the commission. One in the general fund, that is a wash. It doesn't add any dollars to the budget. It is just moving dollars from operations into the payroll line item. So it doesn't increase the budget. And that's in Attachment D. The next one is to authorize a county manager or designee pursuant to Administrative Resolution 2023-77 to execute all agency contracts and cooperative agreements on behalf of the BCC as detailed in the contract listing Attachment E and Attachment E1, and authorize the county manager or designee to amend contract prices in accordance with the limits stipulated in Administrative Resolution 2023-77. The last one is to authorize the county manager or designee pursuant to Administrative Resolution 2023-77 to seek reimbursement to the general fund for any project or initiative funded by the general fund that subsequently receives funding in whole or in part from an alternative funding source such as another agency, bond proceeds, or grants. If that amount exceeds the county manager authority, the item will be presented to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. And I want to ask the county manager if she has anything she'd like to speak on or add.
We're ready for your questions or comments or feedback.
Thank you, County Manager, and thank you for Deputy County Manager Shirley Reagan. Is there questions from commissioners? Comments, questions?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Bacher.
Thank you, DCM Reagan. So you said when you were talking about the MDC medical contract, that it was 22 million. But this is based on an estimate that we will have this, we will not need the 15.1 million expected, but I heard you say, I'm not sure if I got it right, that there's still possibly a $6 million gap and working on that. So can you explain again the medical contract, I guess?
Yes, I apologize for the confusion.
Thank you.
So the initial estimate was going to take us 15.1 million over. We've been working with them and we have brought that number down. So the easiest thing to do was to take that off the table, and now we're balancing. We're within we've accounted for how we're going to pay for it. It's $6.4 million.
What is 6.4 million? The gap.
The delta that was from the general fund, 6.4 million, and we're going to pay that out of the healthcare GRT.
And I'll just add one other point, and I recognize this is a bit confusing, and I want to just acknowledge, I don't think Kate's here anymore, but the UNMH has worked really hard with us to try to level set what we should be spending and how to manage those expenses. This is a relatively new contract, so I recognize there's a gap, and all of you do as well. Our objective, however, is to provide the highest quality of care we can, recognizing that we have a budget. And what I've appreciated is that both our staff and UNMH have really been trying to wrestle to the ground, how do we have the services that we need, what level of those services, and then how do we do it within our budget. So the fact that we're as close as we are today is a relief to me. We're going to get closer with them in the next couple of weeks. And actually, let me also just make one other point to the commission. We recognize also that it really will be, in the next year to 18 months, that we really can level set what our needs are in the at MDC.
Madam Chair, just a follow-up. So the total contract that we have with UNMH is 22 million plus this 6.4 that.
So I'm gonna let,
We have a gap.
I'm gonna let Shirley respond to the detailed numbers, but let me just make this point. We are part of a joint powers agreement, we have a joint powers agreement that governs the expenditures and the investments and the services that are being provided at MDC. When we began the partnership with them, we worked really hard to stick to an initial budget. And where we have had some challenges is both that the budget has been exceeded, but in addition to that, we had some challenges with the timing of reporting. So a little bit of the excess expenditures we were worried about were related to receiving invoices late. So there are three things that we're trying to do, and I want to restate them. One is to make sure we are providing the highest quality of services that we can at the jail within a budget, and both parties are trying to do that. Two, that we're really trying to clean up all the administrative challenges that we have so that we're able to receive information from UNMH in a timely fashion, allowing us to do a much better job of predicting what the expenditures are going to be. But three, something that we are all working really hard on, is better understanding what services at what level we need to provide and how we're going to provide them. So what happened with that original budget, with that original number is, it was in our agreement what that base number was, and that agreement and that number was exceeded dramatically, and that's what we're trying to do our very best to make sure, again, that we're providing the highest quality of service we can, because we recognize that we have very, very sick people coming into MDC. And one of our highest obligations is making sure those folks get back to their homes and to their families in good health. So I just wanted to underpin that, because the process is very, very iterative. Do you want to just talk about what the numbers actually are?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, Commissioner Baca, when we were meeting earlier today, so the meetings have been going on, like County Manager said, for a while. So the original budget for the contract was $22.9 million. There was an escalator of about $1 million for the medical CPI that would apply to this year. In addition to that, they took over the MATs, and that was a medical assisted treatment, and that was $4.4 million. So when you look at the contract, it is closer, and then you have to add gross receipts tax, it's closer to about $30 million is what the new amount of the contract is. So the difference between the 22, and I said 6.4, but I meant 8.4 is the difference. And that's what's going to be paid out of the healthcare GRT. We're still meeting, and they were looking at the staffing levels and switching out different things still to meet the need, as County Manager said, but maybe fill them with different levels of individuals. Like, for instance, the sitters, the people that watch folks. Instead of maybe using, RNs, they might call in different staff members at lower salaries to cover those things. So those are some of the things that we were still ironing out. But that's the number. I misquoted when I said 6.4, I meant 8.4.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other conversation? I just want to make one comment specific to this, what we're talking about right now with MDC and the medical contract. Again, I'm always grateful to have a local more accountable. And I know that in previous times, like compliance, I believe there was a large gap where we didn't really have a compliance officer, or if we did, they weren't in the facility, or they were playing multiple roles that were probably not realistic. And so I guess just that compliance officer, because as we continue, I've heard when UNM first took over the contract, folks were saying like, we really need this system of care, but where we can do warm handoffs to community. So as community members are expected, as community organizations are expected to increase the number of people they serve without any more money, we are in turn also continually giving UNM more money for things that I think have been over. Anyways, I'm sure it's very nuanced and complicated. I want to restate that, like, the commitment to medical assisted treatment in the jail has been, God, long-standing. I think I was a young person when Dr. Trigg first worked really hard to pass it at the county level, and I don't think we've ever really been providing that care in the way we've committed to for probably over a decade. So I hope we can get to there when we talk about the public safety pieces and homelessness and courts and corrections, and these are all pieces and this is our piece of the puzzle, that if when we get it right, then we can say what are the other parts of the puzzle that aren't working, and point fingers at courts or otherwise, once we have our sort of house in order. So the medical assisted treatment, making sure I've heard from law enforcement that they haven't seen a big difference in what it looks like now with the UNM contract. I've heard from folks that have been in the jail that it doesn't seem like we still don't have 24-hour health care, and that's outside of the substance use. So I just want to make sure that yes, let's get the budget where it needs to be. So this is a huge piece to our public safety, and let's make sure that everybody's compliant at providing the services that are within this contract and how we meet those. Those are my 2 cents, but understand that this is one of our biggest budget items, and it's we have to provide this service. So. Any other comment? And thank you, County Manager and Shirley Reagan, for trying to figure this out and working on the details with UNM.
Madam Chair, I have another question.
Yes,
in reading the summary analysis, there was an indication in there that there will be across-the-board salary increase for employees, and I don't see the specifics in this table. So can you speak to that, County Manager?
Yes, I'm happy to. The reason there's not a specific number is that we're in contract negotiations. What we did want to ensure was that we recognize that these are very tough times, and we're trying to keep all of our employees. And so we embedded enough resource to give a very modest increase.
So when you bring this back in 2 weeks, when we discuss approval, we will know that number, and it'll still be a balanced budget?
It is embedded in the budget as you're looking at it now.
It's embedded in there now?
Correct. So there won't be an addition. There shouldn't be an additional expense that you'll see in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. But and at that time, will you be able to give us what that?
We will still be in contract negotiations. Now, one challenge for us, because of the timing of when our contracts are up and the way the budget works, is that we are in the middle of contract negotiations during the budget process. And as you may recall from our last meeting, one of the points that the chair made, which I thought was a very thoughtful point, is that we have to look at when the contracts are up, the timing of that relative to our budgeting. And, I have to give a little thought to that process. This is obviously my first time being here and going through that, but really taking a stronger look at the timing of our contracts, the length of our contracts, and the overall structure of how we engage in contract negotiations are all issues that I will be bringing back to all of you, I hope, in the fall.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, one last follow-up on salary. So you say that it's embedded into the budget and it's covered, but we're also in negotiations, so those negotiations could come higher than what we have embedded or lower?
No, they could not come in higher, I assure you, because then I wouldn't have a balanced budget and all of you would be very unhappy with me. But no, I do not suspect they will come in lower. I think the number that we have is, we're doing our very best. And let me just make this observation. We have really exceptional staff, and you've been able to see them throughout the work that you've done, and even in our budget presentations, just knowing the amount of work that our staff do. You all did, I thought, a very thoughtful approach to looking at salary and pay, because we need to be competitive. I come from the era still that we want to attract the best and the brightest, and that public service is a noble calling. So you all did extraordinary work in bringing up salaries, pay, and benefits, and we want to make sure we don't slip backwards, which, by the way, is extremely costly for the organization. So we're going to do our very best. We're living within a flat budget, which is why what you see is we will have no, even over the next year, very few general fund additions, I imagine, to our staffing, because frankly, we're making a choice that we're going to invest in the people that we have.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say one thing. I was remiss in not thanking my budget team, offering them a very special thanks for all the work and hard effort they put into pulling all these numbers together, making the tables tie, putting the books together, and staying on top of everything. It's a lot of work, and I'm very proud of them and very excited. And so I just meant to say that in the beginning, and I failed to do so, so I wanted to acknowledge them now.
Thank you. Agree. Everyone deserves acknowledgement for this hard, tenuous work. Thank you. Any other comments, questions about what's in front of us?
Madam Chair, final question, I promise. County Manager, and Shirley, Kate Becker talked about the impact of federal budget cuts, which we don't know what those will be. So the big question is, I'm sure you're looking at it, but it's almost impossible to guess, what are they going to do at HUD? What are they doing at, exactly. All of the agencies that we count on. So how are you addressing that here, or will we have to do budget adjustments later when we find out? I know that you may not have an answer to that, but I just think that we all need to keep that on the front of our minds as we hear continuous proposed cuts from the federal administration.
Yes, let me, if you don't mind, respond to that. So, we took a look with our budget team at how much money we had outstanding in our partnership with the federal government. And the good news is that it was not as much as I thought it would be. But here's what the devastating news is. There are lots of areas that are very difficult to see right away. I thought Ms. Becker's points about the risk to New Mexicans and their health relative to Medicaid was just really important, because any impact to them is going to have an impact on all of us. So one issue that we're going to be bringing up, and we'll be looking at this in our partnership even with our nonprofits, is taking a look at strategies for sustainability, because we have to continue to hold all levels of government accountable to their compacts with the people that we serve, particularly as it relates to healthcare. So even though we're confident that there will be some attempts to chip away at Medicaid, every institution in our county that we work with we're going to get them ready to accept Medicaid, because we really have to stay moving forward irrespective of the challenges at a federal level. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that where we have shared risk, not just with our state, but with other states, we have to have a shared response. And I think one point, and I can't remember if Amanda Colburn, our Housing Authority Director, raised it here, But there are changes being recommended for HUD housing vouchers. Now, I keep wanting to call you chair because you were my first chair, but Commissioner Baca, one of the points that you've made with us is we've got to stay foot on the gas relative to how we address homelessness and housing. If the federal government is successful at kicking people off of Section 8 vouchers, one of the challenges that we're going to have is as many people as we're housing, we're going to start seeing more and more people becoming homeless. So this is one of those opportunities for our very close partnership with the city of Albuquerque to take a look at the housing voucher strategies that both institutions have, work together on the, how to protect the vouchers that we have, but also look to the state for a partnership. And I just want to point out that when the Housing Collaborative, under your leadership, said we want $179 million for homelessness and housing, and people said, no, it can't be done. And now we're in the position of really playing a leadership role in getting that housing built. The follow-up to that is going to be working with the state to have a solution and a strategy, particularly to housing vouchers, because those vouchers will impact both people who are currently housed, but also our ability to finance the new affordable housing at rates that make sense, and to be able to continue with the speed that I hope we're going to begin over the next couple of months. So collaboration is going to be critical. Working with the city of Albuquerque and our state legislature is going to be critical. And then the other thing is recognizing every place that we have risk, and we do have some money set aside in case we have are challenged by not getting paid back money that the federal government owes us. So we have outstanding, I think it's $17 million that we are owed from the federal government, recognizing that we're not going to potentially get all of it, but we're going to stay on trying to collect those bills. And our visits to meet with both of our senators, our U.S. senators, they both offered, their offices offered, where we have bills that are outstanding, that they will dig in and fight to get that money. Where we have money that has not been expended yet, and it's about $12 million, we're going to have to take a look at those projects and do a very good job of assessing what we think the risks are and the opportunities relative to how we proceed, and whether or not we spend our own money and continue to build the federal government, or whether or not we have to move those projects to a different priority. We'll be having a deeper discussion with all of you around how we prioritize those projects in late summer, early fall, as we look at our capital improvement program. That'll be embedded in there.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, County Manager. Any other conversations? Okay, I move to approve introduction of the fiscal year 2026 budget. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And we have item F, Technical Services. Director Brian Lopez to present Sleta Boulevard Reconstruction Project, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Madam County Manager. I'm Brian Lopez. I'm the Technical Services Director with Bernalillo County Public Works, and today I'll present a financial resolution supporting our Sleta Boulevard Reconstruction Phase 1 project. For this item, we're requesting the introduction of a financial resolution to authorize the acceptance and appropriation of $10,990,400 in federal and state funding for the Sleta Boulevard Reconstruction Phase 1 project within District 2 of Bernalillo County. This project will be extending from Malpais Road to Luchetti Road and includes roadway reconstruction, buffered bike lanes, ADA compliant sidewalks, landscaping, lighting, and other corridor improvements. Total construction funding for this project is $11,500,000, previously supported by FR 38-2020 and supplemented through approved capital outlay and bond funding. The county's $509,600 match has already been budgeted, and this request covers the remaining funds. This project does align with the 2019 corridor assessment and regional transportation plans included in the Bernalillo County Complete Streets Ordinance. Project schedule. Design for phase 1 is nearing completion with construction anticipated to begin in the fall of 2025. Staff in collaboration with Wilson and Company are also working on the remaining future phases. If this financial resolution is approved for introduction, technical services will bring the NMDOT construction funding agreement and this financial resolution back to the commission for approval at the May 13th meeting. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you, Director. Any comments, questions? So now we finally have bridge, but yes, well, I was waiting for Commissioner Baca. Yes, Commissioner Frank Baca.
Oh, thank you. No, I've been to numerous meetings about this and had several briefings of this project. And I guess, my position has been and continues to be, it's no surprise about the importance of community engagement, not only in the pre-planning phase, which I know we're past that, but in the construction phase in terms of continuing to keep the public in the loop. And my request, my plea is to give them not only the good news, but the bad news. And I've had some discussion with the folks about, how people might take certain things in terms of delays or roads blocked, and it's a big project. It's, several miles long. It's going to be year and a half or whatever in the making. And it's going to impact a lot of people in their daily commute and their daily lives going down Sletta Boulevard. I live just at the edge of this first phase. And I know there are other options. You can go north, you can go south, you can go to Coors. I know there very well. But I think it's, there was some issues, obviously, as you well know, from the, in regards to some aspects of the project, and we're just past that and moving on. And, but I just can't emphasize how important it is to our community, to my community, to be kept in the loop constantly, good and bad news, whatever it may be, or no news. There has to be just a way on our website and our direct mail and our in our press releases and all of the above to just continue to, and the result will be a better project, a lot fewer calls from constituents and a lot fewer emails from me. So I just hope that you will, I know you take that to heart, and I just will reiterate that point because that's just my philosophy of life. But so I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe, did you want to make a motion, Commissioner Baca?
Sure, I would move approval.
Second. All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Frank Baca.
Yes.
Sorry. Commissioner Walt Benson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barbara Baca.
Yes.
Madam Chair Barboa.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And we move on to item number 12, Discussion Behavioral Health Authority Division 2024 Annual Report. Dr. Wayne Lindstrom, DCM.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner, for saving the best for last.
Agreed.
You may recall that when the commission passed the behavioral health ordinance on June 28th of 2024, there was an expectation that we do an annual report for you all. And it will soon be a year that I've been with you on May 6th. It's amazing how time can fly. And Amber Salazar is our interim senior operations manager for the Behavioral Health Initiative. And she's been one of my right-hand partners in crime, so to speak, relative to keeping this plane flying while we're still trying to build a new one. And so what you're going to hear from Amber is a presentation on the performance of our behavioral health initiative for fiscal year 2024. And with that, I'll turn it over to Amber. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Madam County Manager. My name is Amber Salazar. I'm the Interim Senior Manager for the new Department of Operational Services. Presenting on the fiscal year 24 annual report as outlined in the Behavioral Health Ordinance passed in June 2024. This slide is our fiscal year 24 behavioral health gross receipts recurring budget. $16.3 million was allocated to administration, prevention, crisis services, community supports, and supportive housing. $8.7 million was awarded in contracts, and $2.4 million was allocated to Tiny Home Village, Family Wellness Shelter, and the Resource Reentry Center. Workforce shortages remain a major challenge for behavioral health providers, affecting the availability and delivery of essential services. In fiscal year 2024, the average staff vacancy rate was 14%. To address workforce gaps, BHI is collaborating with stakeholders to explore workforce development initiatives and enhance provider support by offering competitive wages, benefits, and investing in training opportunities for project staff. The Behavioral Health Initiative prioritizes accountability and service quality through structured oversight, which includes monthly meetings, performance reports, invoice processing, key metrics to evaluate contractor compliance, identifying areas for improvement, and enhancing program effectiveness through continuous assessment. Financial oversight, which include invoice reviews and compliance checks to ensure responsible use of the GRT funds. Providing technical assistance to help contractors meet requirements, maintain service standards, and optimize efficiency. BHI is making internal improvements to address inefficiencies to enhance efficiency, productivity, and overall performance. As illustrated in this graph here, there has been a 50% year-over-year increase in BHI continuing clients, which demonstrates the growth of BHI, providing service capacity. Over 18,000 clients were served through BHI providers and BHI programs. BHI contractors served 3,476 clients. Of those, 155 clients were permanently housed. 50% of high adverse childhood experiences clients engaged in prevention services. And lastly, our BHI peer-led services have initiated 91% of individual service plans and 82% of those clients reaching their ISP goals. The fiscal year 24 annual report will be used as baseline data. It has helped staff enhance data quality, accuracy, and improvements for the fiscal year 2025 report that will be presented in December 2025. Present with me this evening is my BHI team. The BHI staff did expand to include 2 data analysts who joined our team in the fall and have spearheaded everything outlined in the ordinance. And so we have been making all improvements internally for fiscal year 25, and we look forward to presenting again. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber, Director Amber, and Dr. Lindstrom. This isn't for approval, this is for discussion. My thing's taking a little bit long. Okay, can you go back? I have some questions. I don't know if others from the diocese have. Okay, I will ask if you could go back to the first slide, Amber. My computer's just running really slow right now, but. Are you able to go back to the first slide?
Yes,
Okay.
it's,
Can I just make sure I understand this? So it says the 16.3 million at the top is the total budget, for recurring funding.
Correct.
And, but that doesn't, so the numbers at the top don't match that 16, the 8.7 in contract and the 2.4 for tiny home, family wellness and resource. But that's because it includes out of that? Was that just to tell us those?
So that is, so tiny home, family wellness, and resource reentry all fall under different categories within the pie chart. But total recurring projects is 16.3 million. Of that, 8.7 were awarded in contracts, and then 2.4 for the BHI programs.
Oh, so is that to say like, is the 2.4 of the 8.7?
In addition to.
In addition to, and so we're considering those like, I guess this is where I always get a little bit like, what are we going out and what are we in control of, like in-house and what's out-house? It looks like that's, the 2.4 was our programs, right? The things we run, and 8.7 went out in contracts.
That's correct.
And that's just under, that's 8, 9, 10, 11.1.
Yes, so what's not presented here are the direct care services for the Department of Behavioral Health Services that is also funded.
Through this 16.3, that would equal that 16.3?
Correct.
Okay, and then just for my understanding, can you go a couple of slides down? One more. There, I think, so I love this kind of data. I love that we're helping more people. I would like to see it in just like, so it sounds like this first bullet point is 18,000 that we served directly through county services. Is that right what that's saying?
Yes.
And then the contractors that are like any nonprofit out there that might get a grant through us, that number is about 3,400. Those are all the outside contracts.
Correct.
And the numbers we get from them. Okay. And then of these 155 and the others, we can't really tell whether those are in-house or out of, that might be our housing or might be theirs, or how do we get those numbers?
I'll defer to our data analyst, John Lancet.
Thank you.
Yes, so that number is added up across all of our providers, including our in-house programs as well as our contracted providers. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and I think it doesn't, yes, I mean, I love, like, I just want to be clear, like, I think whoever's doing the work, I love to see the data. And like, I think if we might be able to say like, oh, if they're not serving as many as we, I just would like to see what we are leading on, doing in-house as far as county services. And then there's county contracts that, right now it's hard to tell who's doing what. And then also for me, like I hear a lot from family members like, oh, this provider didn't do this, or my kid got kicked out of here, or they left them in the middle of a hotel lobby way here. And so I guess I'd like to see, and also be able to hold our community contracts providers accountable, and or our county services accountable where needed. So I thank you I'm glad to see that we're serving so many folks. And I'd like in the future just to be able to see those based on like what we have sort of control over that we run and what we do contracts for, which maybe that's more complicated. And I've just been, then maybe somebody can explain to me why, but yeah.
Madam Chair, if I may. So the data analysts have built dashboards for all of our contractors. And so we have comparison data that we can share with you as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Madam Chair, if I might add an additional editorial, in my way of thinking, this is a very limited set of performance metrics. This is the way that the system has operated for too long in counting production, if you will. How many people are we seeing and for what services and how long, et cetera. We will, when we do this for you a year from now, relative to this new division, we will have an entirely different set of performance metrics that will include these elements, but in addition to that, drilling down to actually what kind of quality, what evidence-based practices have we initiated, what findings have been relative to quality improvement initiatives, what the actual outcomes are, et cetera. So this is kind of a baseline, if you will, and I think you'll see a significant difference relative to what we'll be reporting on next year.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you all to sharing this important data. I'm glad. Thank you, Amber, for the presentation. I don't have any other questions. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
You have Commissioner Frank Baca waving his hand,
Great.
which I don't think you can
Sorry,
see.
I couldn't see. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you,
Frank.
Madam Chair. So I'm very glad to hear Dr. Lynch from that last comment about the metrics, because I've been not an expert saying that for several years, that the number of visits, touches, doesn't mean a lot to me. But I'm wondering, I'm just asking, because I don't know if it's possible, practical or legal, to drill down even further to the point of tracking individuals, that's not necessarily by name, but by identity. And I've gone to probably a dozen organizations over the last 12 months, and I asked them the same question. I want to know, are they, they can tell me how many people they've seen, how many visits, how many people they say, but are they really making a difference? And, you can look at the number of people we have on the streets of Albuquerque. I don't think that tells us a whole lot either, because it could be depend on the weather. It could be depend on a lot of factors in other jurisdictions or whatever's going on in the world. But how do we know that any given individual is actually being treated? And I know it's possible. I know it's possible because I know people, I've read literature, and understand that we're dealing with an incurable disease. I get it, but a disease that can be managed and treated. And I was just in conversation with a friend of mine the other day that reminded me of something that I had forgotten. A very successful businessman that I've known since high school, I had forgotten that he has, as he describes himself, a 40-year heroin addict who has been clean for 40 years. That's how he describes it. I'm a heroin addict. I've been clean for 40 years. So I'm not sure how long he was addicted, but he's extremely successful husband, father, college-educated children, and business person. And so that is a success. That individual is a success story. And I'm very proud of him and others like that. But until we know there are individuals, and I've talked to people that said it took them 10 times, 10 different programs before they got clean. I've talked to people who said they've done it by themselves. Until we really know that individuals are being helped, I'm just going to keep bugging and asking questions about how we're spending money and who we're spending money on, because I know there are a lot of good people out there trying really hard, a lot of good programs out there doing their best, but do we know that we're actually improving those lives of those individuals? So I'm just asking, I'm just throwing that out, and I'm hoping your data analysts who are there nodding their heads are going to be able to figure all that out, and we'll get that good report in a year. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner Baca. This has been another problem that has plagued the field forever. The reality is that whether it's Medicaid or whoever the funder is, this is true on the commercial side with our respective health insurance plans that we have, nobody pays for doing longitudinal follow-up. So at the very least, we can do a much better job of being able to report the status of an individual at the time of discharge, and we have to do much better at that, and that's another area where I think the field has failed for too long. But I think we can also dedicate resources for the programs that the county's funding to do meaningful follow-up and aftercare services and follow people long after they are officially no longer receiving treatment per se. So that's another piece of our work as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I have strong feelings that once we move to a model of care that includes dignity and respect for the folks coming, that we can build that kind of trust that can follow through with people. Thank you for a great question. Any further comments, questions?
Thank you.
Staff. Thank you for the great presentation. And so announcement of the next commission meeting is Tuesday, May 13th, the zoning meeting at 3 p.m. in Ken Sanchez Commission Chambers, and Tuesday, May 13th, 2025 administrative meeting at 5 p.m. also at Ken Sanchez Commission Chambers. If there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time this evening. Thank you.